The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into a Wednesday edition of Running Points on ysnlive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. We're with you till 3 o'clock talking all kinds of sports, locally and otherwise. High school basketball, plenty of games on the network last night, plenty of games that were eyebrow raisers, and we'll get to that. Coming up on the show today, we will hear from Brian Driscoll from IrishBreakdown.com. Notre Dame, a little sloppy against Syracuse at times, but they got the job done. They take a week off this week and prepare themselves for the ACC championship game against Clemson, a loaded
healthy
Clemson team, which should be interesting to say the least. We're also going to be talking about the dilemma that's going on at the Ohio State University. The game has been called off. Michigan has COVID issues, and I will say this about Michigan, and I know that Buckeye fans are you can't like Michigan if you're a Buckeye fan, because that's just simply not possible. But I will give Michigan some props. Because they could have very easily sat back and screwed Ohio State and said Friday night at the 11th hour, hey, we're not playing this game. They said it yesterday and said, look, we can't play this game. We'd like to, but we can't play this game. We have COVID issues. And that opens the door now for Ohio State to possibly do what BYU and Coastal Carolina did on 90 hours notice. Now, unfortunately, here is the issue. The Big Ten has made it abundantly clear, as have the ACC. Well, the ACC didn't make it clear. The SEC has made it abundantly clear. The Pac-12 has made it abundantly clear. And the Big 12 has made it abundantly clear. You are not going to be playing any non-conference games whatsoever.
Unless you're a basketball team.
Which is a damn shame, because number 5 Texas A&M does not have an opponent this Saturday. Neither does number 4 Ohio State. Look.
Hey, if you want to decide who gets in the playoffs.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. I mean, Ohio State wasn't going to be getting any cachet against Michigan because Michigan sucks this year. And dare I say, Michigan is no longer a football school. It's a basketball school. They're that bad. They weren't going to get any cachet. If you were to schedule, and again, this isn't just on Ohio State and the Big Ten. This is also on the SEC. Both of these conferences should realize, damn, if we put Texas A&M and Ohio State together, Columbus, College Station, someplace in between, hello, Memphis, Tennessee, Liberty Bowl, I'm just saying, you put these two schools together, number 4 versus number 5, oh, man, we got ourselves a game. Not only that, bragging rights with the Big Ten and the SEC, because both conferences think that they're the cat's meow, and well, this would be a pretty interesting game, not to mention the fact whoever wins this game would have some serious cachet to talk about possibly getting into a playoff.
And it's funny because, like you said, BYU and Coastal Carolina did this. They said, you know what? We're going to go and we both want to prove to everyone that we can win against a quality opponent.
Absolutely.
That's been the knock against both of them. And they both played a heck of a football game. Those kind of teams are the ones that are willing to do that. When's the last time we saw a Power 5 team schedule a high caliber game like this in a non-neutral site late in the season? It just doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
And it's funny that these like
Laziness.
the teams that everyone kind of poops on are the ones that are like, we'll play anybody, anytime, anywhere. It doesn't matter. We'll just go play them.
Here's the one
like,
team.
let's go. Prove it.
Here's the one team that I wish they had a healthy club and they didn't have COVID issues. Cincinnati. Cincinnati would jump at Ohio State. And if I were Luke Fickell and Cincinnati, and obviously they're not healthy, they have COVID issues. That's why they had to cancel their game against Tulsa this week.
Which kind of ended the playoff discussion.
But the good news is they're going to play each other in the AAC championship game, so it's not like they're going to lose out on an opportunity to play Tulsa. But if the shoe were on the other foot and it was Tulsa that had the COVID issues, if I were Luke Fickell, I'd call out Ohio State. I'd sit back and go, hey, we're free, you're free. We'll go to Columbus. We'll play you guys. Now, the Power 5 conferences are basically saying, we don't need to do this. I'll guarantee you the Big Ten is sitting back and saying, we don't need to do this. We've got our team in the catbird seat. They're number 4. Nobody's going to knock this team off, even if they don't get into the Big Ten championship game. By the way, let me just throw this out here. Here's a spoiler alert. The Big Ten committee is going to meet, and they're going to say, hey, we're going to lie about this whole 6-game BS. And even though Ohio State's only played 5 games, they're going to go into the Big Ten title game. They can wax Northwestern, and then they'll go into the playoffs with 6 games, which is a farce.
And then,
but
unfortunately, you don't reward Indiana for getting through the season. I know they lost to Ohio State by 7. I believe it was 7.
Yes.
But they got through the season. They went through the protocol. I know it's kind of fickle, and protocol doesn't exactly mean that even if everyone follows protocol, you're going to have COVID issues. It's kind of random. But at the same time, it's like Indiana's sitting there like, man, we played the requirement set in the beginning of the season.
And they're not going to get anything.
And Ohio State didn't. And they might have beat us, but they didn't. They didn't meet the requirements set at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And now we're sitting here like, where we can't get in the Big Ten championship.
Which
it sucks for an Indiana team that's having probably their best football year in
a
long time.
Agreed.
And it would probably be a better football game. It wouldn't be watched by as many people, but it'd be a better
Indiana
football game.
Northwestern would be a pretty good, entertaining game. I think it would be an entertaining game.
It sucks. But, ACC made a little bit of change for Notre Dame, so we can't put shoes on the same foot.
But the ACC also allowed one non-conference game, which was good. I mean, everyone took advantage of it. The SEC is just as much to blame for all of this than the Big Ten is, and I'll tell you why. The SEC is the same thing. Well, we're not going to have any of our teams play non-conference
Well, yeah, but at
games.
least the SEC just said we're playing, and the Big Ten waited for...
That's true.
That's the difference.
That's
the difference is the Big Ten backed off, and then, everyone's playing, we better play.
Yeah, but here has always been my issue with the SEC, and it's a great conference. It's the best conference in college football.
It just means more.
But here's my issue. When's the last time an SEC team has made the trip to the northern part of the Mason-Dixon line after the second or third week of October?
When's the last time a Big Ten team made the trip down south?
Agreed.
I mean, it's the same way.
Agreed. Let me tell you the last time this happened. Auburn went to Morgantown, West Virginia in an ice storm and got their ass kicked. And that was the last time it happened. It was like 8 or 9 years ago. They get destroyed like 35-9, and the SEC threw up their arms and said, "We're not leaving this area. We're just going to do what we do and stay in the Mason-Dixon line." And after the second week of October, there's no way in hell we're going to go up into the cold weather. Now, would I like to see Texas A&M travel up to Columbus to take on Ohio State in early December? Absolutely. Would I like to see Ohio State shuckle their feet down to College Station, Texas, and play Texas A&M? Absolutely. Would I like to see these two teams meet in the middle in Memphis, Tennessee, and play in the Liberty Bowl? Abso-freaking-lutely. Unfortunately, we're not going to get any of these things because the SEC is not going to want to do it. The Big Ten doesn't want to do it, and that is, my friends, the issue of the problem, and that's why I love mid-majors like BYU and Coastal Carolina that said, screw this. We got 90 hours. Screw this. We're going to do this. And give all props to BYU for having the stones to go across the country to take on the Chanticleers. And they were 1 yard away from staying
By the
unbeaten.
way, BYU has no conference telling them what they can and can't do.
That's true.
So
That's true. So it sucks for for Ohio State fans that you're not going to be able to see the game against Michigan. It sucks for Big Ten fans because Ohio State should be playing someone really, really big. It sucks because the Big Ten and the SEC are both gutless when it comes to putting this together. This is a no-brainer. And if you're an SEC fan, you always want to have 2 teams in. Well, Alabama's going to get in. I mean, unless Florida beats Alabama, then you might get 2 teams in. But Florida's not beating Alabama, so it's irrelevant. You always want to have 2 teams in. You're allegedly the best conference in college football. I think that the SEC is. Their ego should be big enough to say, all right, A&M, go up to Columbus or have Columbus, the Buckeyes come to College Station or go to some neutral site and play this game. Let's go. Let's have some fun. Unfortunately, both conferences are too stupid to realize just how good this would be in a crappy year.
Last thing, and then we can run down high school scores before we talk to Brian. But all the jokes aside, anyone that really thinks that Michigan just deliberately didn't follow protocols because they just didn't want to play Ohio State, can we just watch that? I mean, I know the jokes are fine because it's a rivalry.
Yeah.
But the people that literally think that this was some kind of conspiracy that Michigan just was scared to play Ohio, the athletes at Michigan, as bad as they have been this year, live for this game. They want to play Ohio State. And if you're at that level, you're still the top 2% of football players in America.
True.
Even if you suck as a Big Ten school.
Yep.
You're still top 2%.
Yep.
To get to that level, you have to have the ultimate competitor's mindset. And I'm just telling you, there's no one on that roster, and there's probably no one on that coaching staff that just went, let's just break protocol so we can not play Ohio State.
No, there's no way.
I get the jokes.
That.
The jokes are fine, but there are people that literally think that Michigan just deliberately is faking COVID or whatever it may be to get out of that game. It's not true. It can't be true at this level of collegiate athletes. I refuse to believe it is. And, leave it at that.
It's a shame that the game is not going to be played, but it's so 2020.
Right.
I mean, what would we joked about in the...
We thought that was going to be like, oh, man, it's the only rivalry because all these other ones are inter-conference and they're not going to happen. But this one's in conference and it's going to be big, and now...
Yeah, now it's no longer.
But the AC, it's funny, like we said, they can't play inter-conference, but their basketball teams are playing non-conference games.
Yeah, I mean,
right
the basketball teams are,
so like,
are
and they're
doing
traveling.
what they can do.
You know, the basketball team. We just saw North Carolina go to Iowa and play a basketball game.
Notre Dame just got done playing Ohio State.
Right, but we can't play one inter-conference game in football.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's absurd.
Welcome to 2020.
Before we get to Brian Driscoll with IrishBreakdown.com, we got to break down a couple of these games from last night. Boardman gets their first game of the year in their belt, and they play a really good Poland team.
A way to step up from Ethan Anderson and to have him have a big game, and that's big for Boardman because the talk coming in was, oh man, how are you going to replace Derek Anderson? How are you going to replace Derek Anderson? How are you going to replace all the other seniors that you lost? And Ethan Anderson's like,
yeah. They just, on the fly, they went from a guard-oriented offense to a post-presence type of basketball team. And
it's because Coach Birch is such a good coach, and he knows how to kind of adjust on the fly. And you saw that last night. I think that was one of the that win defines his ability to prepare his team in the offseason for such a dramatic style switch.
He has a lot of trinkets in his closet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of toys in that Boardman basketball closet. That's and Poland is a damn good basketball team. I mean that's a great D1 versus D2 matchup. Two of the better teams in our area, and it lived up to expectations.
To go to Poland and do that too. I mean, I know the fans aren't there, so it's not quite the same home court advantage. But Poland's gym is still kind of.
That's a daunting place.
It's still daunting, you know. It's got a lot of history to it. It's big, it's wide. So to go there and to win a road game, I think road games are still important, even with no fans.
Sure, and Poland's gym, very underappreciated. I will put that gym top 5 in our area.
I'll put a top 5.
I'll definitely put a top 5 in our area. Obviously, you know that's. The field house is iconic, and that has to be it. But I definitely put it top 5. There's no two ways about it. There was another game being played at Ursuline, and this was Ursuline's first game. Keith Gunther much like Boardman and a bunch of other schools, they had a really tough time getting everything together, and they finally got their first game in. They played West Branch last night. This was a rematch. The last time these two teams played was the last game West Branch played last year. They were eliminated in a sectional title game from Ursuline. West Branch beat them 58-47 last night. You want to talk about great matchups last night. Boardman, Poland, but West Branch and Ursuline was at the top of the food chain as well. This was a damn good basketball game last night.
We've talked about West Branch a lot. I mean, when they can have 3 players in double figures like they had, I mean, I think Drew DeShields led them with 17. Jackson Hindershot had 15, and I think Gregory had 10. So when they can have 3 players get into double figures, they can beat just about anybody with the defense they play. And hey, they got some revenge. You know, I'm sure that game was circled on their calendar all year, and ever since they knew they were playing them, they're like, we're not going to let Ursuline beat us again. And Drew DeShields probably felt even more a sense of revenge since Ursuline beat him out of the football tournament too.
It's been a while.
And how about this? Ursuline plays West Branch, and then they play Minter Lake Catholic. The last 2 teams their football team played in the playoffs. So that's just one of those things where you go, oh, basketball team can redeem them a little bit.
Kudos to West Branch for scheduling up like that. Mm-hmm. And it's been a while since I've said this, but we're going to talk about it when we get finished with Brian Driscoll and talking Notre Dame on the irishbreakdown.com. It's been a while since we've sat back and said there is some potentially really, really good basketball could be played this year. My eyes have been open to some pretty fascinating basketball teams. I just hope that we have somewhat of a full season so we can see all of this talent on the boys and girls side of the hardwood. We have some talent this year. This is I've been waiting for really good basketball, and this year we might just see some really good basketball in the Mahoning Valley.
A couple teams got their big first win too. I mean, United got their big first win over Latonia.
Yep.
And they looked really impressive.
Yes, they did.
And Canfield got their first win over South Range, and Canfield had really their schedule was tough their first 2 games. You know, you talk about Struthers, and then who did they play over the weekend?
Canfield played Poland.
So
yeah.
Poland and Struthers, you go, and then you stay in the 88. You go play South Range. Tough week for them, but they were able to bounce back and get their first victory of the season.
Now, Brutus Ogilvie just hit another 3. I'm just saying, good God, was that kid on fire last night? Holy smokes! All right, 330-886-0813. We'll take a timeout. On the other end, we'll hear from Brian Driscoll. Notre Dame is in the ACC title game. They got Clemson, a loaded Clemson team, a healthy Clemson team. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. We'll hear from Brian, and we'll talk about the victory against Syracuse. That's all coming up after this timeout. It's a Thursday. Make that a Wednesday edition. I'm trying to move the clock ahead. It's a Wednesday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Back in a bit.
21 News.
Let's get right to our top story tonight.
More experienced reporters.
A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
Telling more local stories.
We'll look at efforts
boy
to
is
curb
recovering from a broken.
Around our valley.
community in Niles.
We are here in Youngstown, right up.
Because you expect
It's important for everyone. No place like home.
more local news.
In Mercer County
before
Court.
they become life-threatening.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Attention football fans, order Coca's Pizza tailgate package for only $54.99. You'll receive 24 slices of our delicious cheese pizza, 20 jumbo wings, and 2 of our famous foot-long pepperoni rolls. Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsuranceSolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Your Armstrong services are more important than ever. There are more and more connected devices in the home these days. To get the most out of your experience, you need a network that is always getting better. You deserve superior performance, and that's what Armstrong offers every day. Whether you're working from home, enjoying your favorite content together, or simply catching up while apart, count on Armstrong to keep you connected to what matters most.
To Greenwood Chevrolet because
I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years. I think whenever we go there, whatever car we're looking for, they have tremendous inventory.
If you're looking for people who care about you, Greenwood is the place to go.
You know, it's like family there. The girls know me in service. It's Miss Kim in the Tahoe.
I'm really happy that I went to
Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline will be open shortly, but right now we go to the aforementioned MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline where we find Brian Driscoll from IrishBreakdown.com. Brian, how are you today, sir?
I am doing great. Just enjoying this little bye week.
Indeed. And it's an opportunity for Notre Dame to get healthy because, well, a healthy bunch of Clemson Tigers are going to be on the warpath 1 week from Saturday and the ACC title game. And, you know, we were hoping for the ACC title game. Notre Dame knocks off Syracuse on Saturday. Mission accomplished. They get what we consider will be a healthy Clemson team, and this should be an entertaining game.
Yeah, I mean it's a matchup I think a lot of people are looking for. There's no question about it. I think that the narratives about this game have been interesting, you know. And but, you know, there's going to be no excuses for either team on Saturday. There's no question about it.
Okay, so let's talk about the ramifications. Obviously, Clemson has already lost one game. What happens if Notre Dame knocks off Clemson for a second time? Do they put a two-loss Clemson team into the Final Four, Brian?
I don't think so, and honestly, I don't think Clemson at that point in time would have the resume to do it. I mean, what would Clemson be hanging their candidacy on? It would be a win over Miami. I think that would be it. I've always said, Ron, and this was true back of Notre Dame back in 2015 and 2017 when a lot of Notre Dame fans were making the case of, who they almost beat. They almost beat Clemson in 2015. They almost beat Georgia. Your resume should be built on who you beat, not who you almost beat or how well you lost to a really good team. And, I just think Notre Dame, Clemson, when you look at them, they didn't play North Carolina, so that hurt their opportunity to get that really good second win, which Notre Dame would have. If Notre Dame does, in fact, lose to Clemson, Notre Dame can say, not only did we beat Clemson once, we also beat North Carolina, who is a top 20 team right now. So, I don't think they would get in. I think the debate would be who would be that third and fourth team. I think that would be a conversation that we'd be willing to have, and I think Texas A&M would have a good beef for that. Having that win over Florida on their resume, which would be a good win. I think obviously Florida, if they beat Alabama, would be a lock. But that's where it gets interesting. What if Ohio State doesn't play another game and they're 5-0? Then you may look at the situation where if Alabama beats Florida, you say maybe you almost would get that two-loss Clemson team in there by default, if Ohio State doesn't play again. So that's just one of the drama that's made 2020 really interesting and fun to talk about.
So many things to unpack with the Big Ten and their 6-game rule, which is going to get revisited. And here's a spoiler alert: Ohio State's going to play in the Big Ten title game. It's just going to happen. But Anthony and I were talking about this, and honest to God, it's not just the Big Ten. It's the Southeastern Conference and all the Power 5 conferences, not named the ACC, that are guilty as charged of this. Every single conference, Power 5 conference, not named the ACC, strictly said, we are not going to allow non-conference opponents. You have to sit back now that Ohio State and Michigan has canceled their game because Michigan has COVID. You have to sit back and wonder, would a Power 5 conference do what BYU and Coastal Carolina did on 80, 90 hours notice and call another Power 5 conference team that's off? And the classic example is Ohio State and Texas A&M. They're both off. Now Cincinnati's off, but they have COVID problems, so obviously they're thrown out of the mix. Ohio State and Texas A&M are both off this week. Brian, there is no excuse. This game should be played, whether it's played in Columbus, whether it's played in College Station, whether it's played in a neutral facility. I had said Memphis, but Memphis is home this week. Find a neutral facility. Damn it, just get this done because I think it would be for the best for everyone concerned.
No, there's no question about it. I mean, it would be great for the sport. It would be great for the two teams, and it's not going to happen because, honestly, if we're being real about this, Ron, the leadership of the Big Ten didn't want to have a season anyway. So, I don't think that there's necessarily this push to allow, a non-conference game. I think the ADs certainly need to determine whether or not there's requirements for, the being in the Big Ten title game, and I don't think the presidents would care much about that. But now all of a sudden you let Ohio State go down to Texas, or if you do meet somewhere in the middle, let's say they go to St. Louis or something along those lines, then I think that's where you would start seeing some people put their foot down because, like I said, they didn't want to have the season to begin with. And if it wasn't for Ohio State, doing what they did, and Nebraska's become the whipping boy of the conference for some insane reason because Nebraska had the audacity to want to have a season, and they get mocked for it in the national media and by Big Ten leadership. But, that's a different point. They're not going to let it happen. I mean, there's just no way they're going to let it happen. I mean, it should happen. It would be great for the sport. It would be great for Ohio State and Texas A&M. But honestly, Ron, I think the Big Ten is under the impression that they just have to get Ohio State another game. They just have to get Ohio State a sixth game. And then if they get Ohio State a sixth game, then Ohio State's going to be in if they're undefeated. And I don't think they would want to put Ohio State in a situation where they could lose. I hope the committee proves them wrong. I don't think Ohio State deserves to be in with 6 wins. I think they're borderline deserve to be in the conversation with 7 wins, but 6 wins is to me is just it's a travesty. I mean, you're going to compare them to a Clemson team that didn't lose their first game till game 8. You know what I mean? That's my problem. And the more games you play, the more opportunity there is to lose. And Ohio State's going to be 6-0 with a win over a 2-loss Northwestern team in Indiana. And that's really what they're going to hang their resume on. I think it'd be a joke that Ohio State would get in, but I think they will if they win another game, and that's the sad part about it. So where's the need for Ohio State to add a game if that's what they believe?
And we've been talking for the last couple of weeks how important Notre Dame's defense has been to where they are right now. And yesterday you posted a report that might be scary for some fans of that defense because according to a report, Clark Lee has interviewed for the Vanderbilt job. How valid is this report? How interested do you think he is in that job? And what can Notre Dame do to try to fight back and keep him in South Bend?
Well, I wrote an article a week or so ago where I said Notre Dame needed to be proactive in this. And I meant is Notre Dame should have gone to Clark Lee already with a huge contract offer. And the fact that they didn't is just, to me, that's where Notre Dame failed. I mean, there's really nothing they can do to keep him from taking a head coaching job if that's ultimately the career path he wants to be on. And there's a lot of things that are attractive to him about Vanderbilt beyond football, and that's what people have to understand. Clark Lee is a father, he's a husband, he's a father of young children, and he has most of his family. My understanding is most of his family's in Nashville, which is where Vanderbilt is. So, there's that aspect of it. I get to go coach football at an institution that I love because he graduated from Vanderbilt. It's his hometown. His family's there. It'd be great for his kids and his wife. And, he believes in himself and in his ability to turn that program around. And, I think if there is a coach that could be successful there, I think Clark Lee would be one of those few candidates. And the reason I say that is if you look at what he's done at defense, Notre Dame doesn't have a defense littered with 5-star players. A lot of Notre Dame's best players were former 3-star guys, Jeremiah Wusu, Myron Tungvaloa, Kurt Heinz, Drew White. I mean, there's a lot of Adio Gandiji. There's a lot of three-star players dominating, and they've been developed extremely well, and I think he plays a big role in that. So, I think that's the attractiveness for that opportunity. And honestly, I don't know if there's a lot Notre Dame can do now. I think Notre Dame should have been more proactive with this, but that's just not their style. They wait until there's a reason to pay a guy that's proven to be one of the best of the best. They'll go out and make sure that Brian Kelly gets his money after an 11-2 season where their only ranked win was over Navy. But when Clark Lee is the driving force behind two undefeated, they're going to drag their feet, making him the highest paid defensive coordinator in college football, which is what he should be.
And it's not out of the realm of possibility that Vanderbilt can have a solid SEC type of run under Clark Lee because, well, James Franklin used Vanderbilt as a stepping stone. And you take a look at the last year and a half that James Franklin was in Vanderbilt, and it's hard to believe, but they were a top 3 SEC program when James Franklin left Vanderbilt. Record-wise, they were top 3 in that godforsaken, talented conference of the SEC.
And correct me if I'm wrong, he won the most important game on their schedule, which is against Tennessee.
He owned Tennessee.
Yeah, now, let's keep in mind, too, that during that stretch where he won 9 games in back-to-back years, Florida went 4-8 in one of those years. I think Georgia finished unranked in the year that they beat Georgia. Georgia was 15th when Vanderbilt beat them, but Georgia ended up going 8-5 and outside of the top 25. And Tennessee was terrible. So he got lucky. The timing was right for him at that job in that the SEC East was down. But even a down SEC East is hard for Vanderbilt to win 9 games. I don't want to take too much away from James Franklin, but I do think there were some extenuating circumstances that made it a little bit easier to where now Clark Lee going, 6 or 7 wins would be, to me, comparable to what James Franklin did back then because of, and I think the other thing, too, that helps the SEC East is if you have a smart AD, you have 4 non-conference games to play with if you're at Vanderbilt. You schedule as soft as possible for your head coach's first 3 years. You need to guarantee him 4 non-conference wins. That's the only way you're going to be successful. And then you hope that you can knock off a Kentucky or a Tennessee or a South Carolina or somebody like that to get to 6 or 7 wins. And that's how you start getting better recruits, and that's how you develop your program. So, we'll see if they do that or not for whoever the coach is. But, it's a place that with the right coach can be a bowl team every now and then, but I just don't see it being a place that has any chance of doing what James Franklin did simply because the SEC East is so much better. The coaching is so much better now in that league. Kentucky's better now. Florida's way better now. Georgia's better now. Tennessee was last year. This year, not so much. And then, of course, Shane Beamer's now in the SEC East, which is going to make it a little bit even more competitive.
I'll say this, and I lived in Tennessee for about 6 or 7 years, and I saw plenty of high school football there. Their football is pretty damn good. It's top shelf or close to top shelf good, and Tennessee. The reality with Tennessee is the entire state. There is 2 Power 5 conference colleges in the state of Tennessee and Vanderbilt. And you would think, okay, Memphis gets the litter from West Tennessee, but they're not a Power 5 conference. Vanderbilt could very well, a good Vanderbilt program, a solid coach could very well come in and clean up in a fast-rising high school state like Tennessee.
The thing that'll always hold them back is they have to recruit academically too, because it's such a prestigious academic. I mean,
like Notre Dame,
like Duke,
well,
like Georgia Tech.
That Notre Dame gets. That's the difference.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Now, here's the one thing that works in Tennessee's favor is there's a lot of really good private schools in Tennessee. Montgomery Bell, Harrison Smith, and Golden Tate were also both from private schools. They were from Tennessee. But. Look, Vanderbilt this is where I think Clark Lee could benefit Vanderbilt a little bit too, being at Notre Dame, is he's had to recruit national. Number one is the Wake Forest job was good for him because he got a lot of experience in the Carolinas, which is the Carolinas down to Georgia, which is where I think Vanderbilt can have some success finding some 3-star gems, but also being from Tennessee, that'll help him with the in-state, but he's had to recruit nationally at Notre Dame. And Vanderbilt has to have a little bit of that. They have to go find that private school kid, that private school 3-star kid out in California, that's got some upside. They've got to find those kind of players, and then he's got to develop them. I mean, so again, it's an uphill road at Vanderbilt, but if you have the right coach, you can find a modicum of success there, and I think that's what they're looking to do. Although I don't know if Clark Lee's going to be picked, because on record is saying, she wants a offensive-minded coach, which I think is incredibly narrow-minded in focus. But it is what it is. That's a part of the reason that Vanderbilt's not a great job, is I don't think there's great leadership there.
Well, Brian, let me ask you, if in fact Clark Lee does go to Vanderbilt, obviously it's a huge hit for the Notre Dame defense, but it's also, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's a huge hit from the recruiting standpoint, because Clark Lee does a pretty nice job of recruiting for Notre Dame.
Yeah, not as much the last couple of years, to be honest with you. I think that the recruiting has been on defense. Honestly, the last two seasons, including this 2021 class, has been a little shaky. And if it wasn't for Mike Mickens getting hired and just cleaning up the cornerback recruiting, this class would be a big question mark outside of really the work that Mike Elston puts up front. So, he's very picky when it comes to who he wants, and I think that's caused them to have some misses in the last year or two that they didn't have. Because let's not forget that first really good defensive class that the new staff put together. That was with Mike Elko. I mean, Mike Elko had a big role in identifying those players and also recruiting them, and Mike Elko is a very strong recruiter. So when you look at a lot of the recruits that Notre Dame landed that are playing now, a lot of them have Mike Elko's fingerprints on them. Jeremiah Wusu, Kyle Hamilton, guys like that. So I think he's a good recruiter, and I think he would fit in well at Vanderbilt because he likes those sleeper kind of guys. That's something he's shown a affinity for, and I think at Vanderbilt that's exactly the kind of guy he would want and would need and would be able to get.
Brian Driscoll, our guest, you can read his work on irishbreakdown.com. Brian, obviously Notre Dame, not a perfect game, but they get the job done. They knock off Syracuse. They remain undefeated. They go to the ACC title game. 1 week from Saturday, they take on Clemson. Look, Notre Dame needs this week off because they're kind of dinged up. Like Clemson, they're dinged up, and they're going to need this week off.
I think that physically they definitely could use it. I think we saw how much that impacted them against North Carolina. I think they were fresh. They were sharp. I think even beyond just being, I think that there's just a need for extra reps when you look at the offensive line. You not only got to get the offensive line healthy, but, you're going to have Tommy Kramer back. You hopefully get Zeke Correll back. You're going to need that extra work to really get them on the same page, because ultimately that's the position that if Notre Dame is going to win this game, that's the position that's got to play at a high level. That Clemson's going to be healthier. They're going to have Tyler Davis back. They're going to have James Skalski back. They're going to have Mike Jones back. They're going to really work hard to stop the Notre Dame run game. And the front line has got to step up and get it done and still allow them. I mean, I don't expect them to run for over 200 yards again against Clemson. That'd be quite the feat to go for over 200 against Clemson twice. But they at least need to be good enough running the ball that they force Clemson to still respect that part of their game, which then opens up the opportunities to win some of those one-on-ones down the field in the pass game. So the extra work is going to be good from a cohesion standpoint just as much as it's going to be from a, let's get everybody healthy standpoint.
And Javon McKinley with another big game, and he's becoming more and more of a matchup problem. He is one of only two receivers in the ACC to catch 70% of their targets and average 15 yards per reception. When you look, has he officially surpassed preseason expectations of what this kid can be?
No, not for me. I had him as one of the 20 players that was most important top players for this team this year. And, look, I had Javon McKinley as a top 50 player coming out of high school. He had a couple big games last year. The thing that I said about Javon McKinley is, can he be consistent? Can he be a guy that can do it week after week? And it took him a month to get there. He had the big game against Florida State, but that was surrounded by games where he had one catch in the game after, one catch in the game before, and 0 catches in the opener. So that consistency problem was there again. What he's done the last month is he's been consistent. And I think the more that he makes plays, the more Ian Book is willing to go to him again, and I think that's really impacted him. So the talent has been there. The question was, could he stay healthy, number one, which has been a huge problem for him in his career. Number two, could he be consistent from an effort and a production standpoint? and he started to do that. And look, he's already done something that Miles Boykin and Chase Claypool never did, which is, have 4 100-yard games in a season. And that's something he's tied for second all time at Notre Dame for a single season, and he did it in 10 games. So he's really, really been good the last month. And everybody talks about Ian Book and how well Ian Book has played the last month, and he has. But Javon McKinley's not getting enough attention on just how good he's been the last month of the season, and it started before he had the 3-touchdown game.
Brian, I know that I've been really hard on Coach Kelly. You've been hard on Coach Kelly. But, it was an interesting statistic when Notre Dame completed their undefeated regular season, albeit it's a COVID world and a little fewer games in a regular season than normal. This is now officially 1/3 of Brian Kelly's tenure at Notre Dame have featured undefeated regular seasons. I saw that stat and I was like, that can't possibly be right. And then I obviously you do the math and you're like, holy crap, this is right. It's hard to believe that 1/3 of Brian Kelly's coaching career at Notre Dame has included undefeated regular seasons.
Now is that at Notre Dame? Because I'm having a little trouble with that math. Are they including his last year at Cincinnati as well?
That's where I was kind of wondering.
3 out of 11 is, again, I'm not great at math.
Yeah, 3 out of 11's not a third. Exactly, 3 out of 11's not a third. It has to be.
But still, 3 out of 11 regular seasons is pretty good, right? I mean, I think that the thing for me though is, I like how Notre Dame fans aren't counting the second Clemson game as a regular season game, because technically it's not. But honestly, Brian Kelly's done a really good job with this team this year, but they have to close it out with another win. Because if we're being honest, Ron, this was a very, very watered-down schedule. Very watered-down schedule. I mean, they beat Clemson, which is great, a shorthanded Clemson team, but I'm not taking anything away from that win. Their next best win is what? A 7-3 North Carolina team that lost to Virginia and Florida State. Their next best win is what? 6-5 BC, 5-5 Pitt. Notre Dame's opponents right now, including 9-1 Clemson, have a combined record of 39-59. So won a bunch of games they should have won. I mean, if we're being honest, in 2018 was kind of a similar story. They beat Michigan early in the year, which was a big win, but what was their next best win? Syracuse? Northwestern? I feel like he's done a great job, but I can't jump on board with saying he's done something that makes me change my view of him until he goes out and wins. And if he beats Clemson in the ACC title game, then all of a sudden maybe the narrative starts to change for me. But, we've seen this before, right? We've seen this undefeated regular season against a pretty, schedule where really you had one big game you had to win, and that was it. And if you win that game, everyone else you're better than. He needs to win this game. He needs to be competitive in the postseason because, again, we've seen this before. And my issue with Brian Kelly was never that he wasn't a good coach. He is. He's brought Notre Dame so far away from where they were when he took over, but he's also at Notre Dame. And the standard at Notre Dame is compete for championships. And he still hasn't proven he can do that. Now, could he do that this year? Absolutely. But he needs to show he can do that before I'm ready to say my narrative about Coach Kelly has changed.
All right, let me ask you before we let you go. Actually, a couple questions because we definitely want to know what you're doing on this off week, getting ready for the ACC title game. What kind of material and what kind of information can we expect at IrishBreakdown.com? But before you answer that, I gotta ask because I'm curious. You have made it known Ohio State shouldn't be in the top 4 because of the fact they haven't played anybody. If we were to do a top 4 right now, Brian, who is your top 4?
Well, I have Ohio State in my top 4 right now from
Okay.
a ranking standpoint, but I think that, to me, will change as teams play more games. I think that, I have Ohio State 4th. I've been clear about that, but I think when you're talking about a top 45, to me, it's different than saying, yeah, you're going to get a chance to compete for a national championship. I think part of this is going to depend on how the season plays out. If Clemson beats Notre Dame, I think they're both in. They should both be in. If Alabama beats Florida, they should be in. And then it comes down to, do you take an 8 or 9-1 Texas A&M team that has a win over a top 5 opponent in Florida, a top 6 opponent in Florida, do you take them as a second SEC team, or do you go with Ohio State? And I think it just depends on how Texas A&M plays in their final game or two. And then the other part is where it gets easy for the committee is if Clemson and Notre Dame play in a really close game that Clemson wins by a field goal, and then Florida beats Bama. I think if you do that, now all of a sudden it's much easier to leave Ohio State out because now you have the 2 SEC teams and the 2 ACC teams, and I think what they would smartly do would be to make Clemson play Florida or Alabama, like kind of one of those 2 teams, the 2 ACC teams would play 2 SEC teams. And I think, honestly, I'm usually not a fan of that, but in this season, that would work for me because at the end of the day, the ACC and the SEC saved the season for everybody. And if it wasn't for them bucking the Big Ten's desire to cancel the season, there would be no college football season. So we're going to reward the Big Ten by giving a 6-game Ohio State team into the playoff when the Big Ten didn't even want to have a season to begin with, and the only reason they made their dumb decision to start playing in November with no buys is because they were forced into it because everybody else was playing, and they were playing without the huge problems that they thought that they would have. So I don't think the Big Ten should be rewarded for that. I think the 2 conferences decided to go along and lead, the SEC and the ACC, should be rewarded if that opportunity is there. I would have gone to the Big 12 as well, but I can't have a 2-loss Iowa State team or a 2-loss Oklahoma team, especially Iowa State who lost to Louisiana, right? Arkansas State, something like that.
Hey, respect the Raging Cajuns. Come on now.
Well, I mean, I do, but I just can't have a Power 5.
I got you.
I've got Louisiana in my top 20, but
yeah,
I'm not taking a 2-loss team, 2-loss Iowa State over a 1-loss Texas A&M or a 1-loss Florida. So I would like to see those 2 conferences get rewarded for the fact that we're even having a season.
And Oregon tanked too, so that was the Pac-12's only hope was if Oregon went undefeated and won the Pac-12. They tanked real hard because they've lost 2 in a row now.
USC's undefeated.
Yeah.
Has everyone like stopped watching USC? They are undefeated. Okay, they haven't played anybody. They played the 2 Arizona teams.
The committee has shown they have zero respect for the Pac-12.
Yeah.
0. And I think that USC's win over Washington State gave them their first win of the season over a team that has a win. So they don't care about the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is because at most you're going to play 6 games. So my whole thing is if you're going to punish the Pac-12 for only playing 6 games, why aren't you punishing Ohio State for only playing 6 games?
And it's clear Ohio State's Ohio State, and that brings in the money. And if they finish the job and go 6-0, they're getting in the playoffs. And whether they deserve it or not, I think this as a team, I think that they deserve it. I think you watch them on tape and you can just see they're one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country.
But see, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all because if you look at Ohio State over the years, they don't get to the Purdue game this year, right? Because when did the Purdue game happen? It was game 8 or 9? Right? That's not happening this year. They're not getting to that level. And the whole point is, if you don't play more games, then you're not going your odds of losing go down. Yes, Ohio State is a very talented team on tape. But the tape argument is exactly the argument that Kirk Herbstreit tried to use a couple of years ago when Georgia had 2 losses. Well, if you pop in the tape, they're clearly one of the best teams in the country. But what's their resume? Right? What's Ohio State's resume? This isn't a playoff. Now, I'm saying they will get in because for the reasons you mentioned. It's about money, right? But I don't think that they deserve to get in because this isn't a playoff for who has the 4 best rosters, right? This is supposed to be for the 4 best teams that's related to what you do. And if Ohio State only plays 6 games and they may only play, 2 of their 6 games are going to be against teams with a winning record, why do they get in just because they're talented? How do you know how talented they are?
And I think
here's the thing.
I think
if
they
you only would have evaluated Clemson off their first 7 games, they're a no-brainer because they were 7-0 and dominating people. But it wasn't until game 8 that they had to play a team like Notre Dame, and Ohio State's not going to play a team like Notre Dame this year.
And I think they got ready for that argument because when the first rankings came out, I think the committee came out and said something like, we're going to look a lot more at the tape than we are the resume this year. And I think that was just getting ready for them to put Ohio State in when that argument that you just said is going to come up.
I agree. I think you're right on that they will. I think where you and I disagree is whether they should. I don't think they deserve to get in for any reason whatsoever because, again, this isn't a who has the most talented roster debate. If we're going to do that, then we need to be talking about Georgia. We need to be talking about Oklahoma, right? It's about your resume, and they don't have the resume. They're only going to play 6 games, and they're going to play – right now they've played one team with a winning record. One. You could argue that their second best win so far this year is over Rutgers.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let me ask you before we let you go, Brian Driscoll, IrishBreakdown.com. What is on the plate for IrishBreakdown.com in this off week as we get ready for the ACC title game against Clemson?
Well, I had a couple big picture articles today. I talked about the 2 competing narratives coming out of Clemson and Notre Dame since that game on November 7th. I talk about Notre Dame, whether or not I think Notre Dame should be a lock for the college football playoff, regardless of what happens on December 19th. And then later today, we're going to dive into Notre Dame-Clemson breakdowns. We are going to actually take an early look at that. We're going to get started early because next Wednesday is early signing day. So next Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to have a ton of recruiting content. So we're going to go ahead and get an early start on the Notre Dame-Clemson content. So a lot of breakdowns, a lot of analysis about that matchup, which I think this is going to be a long week and a half. You know, when you're anticipating something, a lot of times it takes a lot longer. It seems like it takes a lot longer to get there. So it's going to be a long week and a half, but we're going to have a lot of content about Notre Dame versus Clemson. And, of course, we will have a lot of recruiting content. And I'm contemplating writing an article about why I don't think Ohio State deserves a shot to get in the playoff, but I'm just not sure I'm going to do that or not. But that is absolutely my stance on that. They do not deserve that. And I don't blame Ohio State as much as I think it's more of a protesting the Big Ten and their horrible leadership and decision-making they showed throughout this entire process.
Brian, I look forward to next Wednesday, not only to preview the Clemson game, but to also talk about the class of 2021 coming into South Bend.
Yeah, it's a good class. I mean, there's a couple guys they're trying to close on, and if they get those guys, I think that could completely change this group. Right now, I think it's a typical Notre Dame class. It's kind of that 10 to 15 range. If they can close on a couple guys, then we could be talking about this being one of Brian Kelly's better classes. But they still got to close out on those guys. But even with the players they're bringing in, it's a very strong class. And it's a very strong offensive class for sure. That's the strength of this 2021 class is on offense.
Brian, always a pleasure. Look forward to catching up with you next week, brother.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
See you. Brian Driscoll, and it's pretty clear that Christmas cards will not be exchanged between Brian Driscoll and the Big Ten Conference.
No.
Woo! I kind of agree with what he's saying from the Big Ten aspect. Look, Ohio State's pretty impressive, but the resume does suck.
But I didn't even I think he's right when you say if you play more games, you have to go
a better
through,
chance of losing.
Not just that, you just have to prove that you can go through the attrition of a season. So, how much is 2 games worth when the teams are close? And you can say Texas A&M and Ohio State are close. Like, you look at the tape, and it's not like Ohio State's way up here and Texas A&M is way down here.
Yeah.
It's more like this. I mean, Ohio State looks like a better team, but it's close. And when they're close, how much is 2 more games or however many games more that Texas A&M played than Ohio State really worth? You know, it's not going to matter because Ohio State's going to we all know that they're going to get into the playoffs because it's Ohio State.
You would think that they would.
I would be shocked if
Let me ask you, because he brought up something that
unless
was
Florida
interesting.
beats Alabama.
There you go. If Florida beats Alabama,
then you can't keep Alabama out at the expense of Ohio State.
Do we get 2 ACC and 2 SEC teams in then?
Only if either Notre Dame wins or it's close. I mean, if Clemson blows out Notre Dame, then Ohio State will probably jump them.
I don't think Ohio State jumps Notre Dame.
If they get blown out by Clemson, they do. Like if Clemson comes, no, I don't think that'll happen. But if Clemson comes in and beats them 38-10, 45 to 14, like washes them out of the water and just says we're better than you when we're healthy and we're going to prove it.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll happen. But if it does, then I would say Ohio State. But just because of their prestige and they're Ohio State, whether you agree with that or not, it's a fact.
It's a cachet. There's no question about that.
They'll jump Notre Dame.
Well, let me ask this: what happens if Notre Dame beats Clemson?
Well, then I think if it's a blowout,
Well, even if it's a close game, Clemson gets 2 losses.
Right.
Albeit one was
That's
against
tough.
Notre Dame when they had nobody, essentially nobody in terms of their stars. They did have Etienne, and they had most of their defense healthy.
Except there are 3 defensive linemen that are so important.
There you go. And I think the 2 defensive linemen and 1 defensive back were missing in the game, but neither here nor there. If they were to lose to Notre Dame again, do you take a 2-loss Clemson team over an undefeated Ohio State team?
That'll be the argument.
That's a huge argument.
And if Clemson gets in 2 losses, there will be riots in Columbus.
Oh, there will be. But
and since I'm not a Ohio State fan, I'll be sitting there with popcorn.
Yeah, the meme with the guy eating the popcorn, just looking and saying, "Yeah, carry on, guys, do your thing."
It'll be fun, but if Clemson's 2 losses, I gotta think. If Alabama beats Florida, Clemson loses to Notre Dame, then your 4 would probably be Alabama, Notre Dame,
Ohio State,
and then that 4th one.
The 4th one is who do we
It's
put?
like, do you put Texas A&M but do you put someone that wasn't even in a conference championship?
Yeah. Do you put
Florida in if it's close?
Do you put a mid-major in?
And then that's another 2-loss team. I mean, do you put Cincinnati or
if Cincinnati beats Tulsa? I mean, they're the only mid-major that has a chance. And right now, what are they, 7 or 8?
I think they're 7.
It's the one or the other. I think they slipped to 8 when the committee met last week, which is bull crap, but neither here nor there.
You can't put Big 12 in. You can't put Pac-12 in.
No.
So, I mean, it's either mid-major, 2-loss Clemson, or
another SEC team,
or Texas A&M.
Yeah, that's it.
Because I don't think you put 2-loss Florida over 2-loss Clemson, even if it's close to Alabama, even if they lose closely.
Yeah, there's still the potential for chaos, even though right now, clearly, even though I don't necessarily agree with clearly, Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State in that order right now.
And look,
it's going to change because Notre Dame will play Clemson, and the winner of the game is going to either stay at number 2 or jump up to number 2 and go from there.
I would be shocked if Florida is even competitive with Alabama. I think they're just on a different level.
Yeah,
this year,
Alabama incorporated.
I think Alabama would be. I would be shocked if it's less than a 14-point game. So. But if that happens, then chaos ensues.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love chaos.
Well, chaos is a wonderful thing, especially on Get Smart. Chaos was wonderful.
Florida's going to come in like the Joker and be like, I'm an agent of chaos.
All right, we're going to take a timeout because on the other side, the OHSAA has announced all Ohio for Division II and Division III. We will plow through those numbers and give you the particulars on who made what, and we'll give our kids the props that they deserve in the Mahoning Valley. That's all coming up in a bit. It is a Wednesday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Youngstown. Back in a bit.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you. Hello. Anthony Hardwig on the other side. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, D2 and D3, hot off the presses, courtesy of the OHSAA, All Ohio. Unfortunately, we have nobody from Fitch, Boardman, or Warren Harding to represent the area first team All-State. We go to second team All-State. Devon Sherwood from Austintown Fitch.
And he's in a first team, and I'm going to say it right here, senior year, he'll be up in first team. This is hot take. It's not even a hot take. It's just a take.
Yeah, and it's probably a good one at that. Barring any injuries, knock on wood, Devon Sherwood should be a first
to the
team.
Universe, Ron.
Yeah, second team All-Ohio for Devon Sherwood, 5'11", 185-pound junior. He is second team at the quarterback position, All-Ohio. We go to the defensive side of the ball, and we find nobody. So no other teams, no other second team All-Ohio. So we will go to,
because Fitch had a really good defense.
Yeah, there, no question. We go to third team All-Ohio, and we will have nobody on offense. Third team All-Ohio. Third team on defense. Along the defensive line, Jabari Felton from Harding, 6'1", 215-pound senior. Third team All-Ohio along the defensive line. Nate Leskovac, the 5'11", 180-pound senior from Austintown Fitch. Third team All-Ohio from the linebacking core, along with Marion Perkins, the 6', 195-pound senior from Warren Harding. Third team All-Ohio in the linebacking core. Honorable mention, All-Ohio. We have nobody at quarterback. We have nobody at running back. We have nobody along the offensive line. And we'll go to the defense.
Well, receivers.
No receivers.
Wow, we have a second team quarterback with none of his receivers on the All-Ohio.
Yeah, none of his receivers.
I know Nate Leskovac got in for defense on third team, so they're not going to put him on both teams for offense.
Yes.
But
yeah, that was very bizarre. Terrence Thomas, honorable mention in the defensive backfield, 5'11", 180-pound junior. That's it for Division II. So kind of disappointing, but with three schools, in two of them in our family, but three schools in the area, that's kind of tough. So let's go to Division III. First team, Brock Lowry. The sophomore quarterback got first team All-Ohio from Canfield.
As a sophomore, I mean,
6'2", $185, first team All-Ohio as a sophomore quarterback.
The kid's got star in his future. I mean, his future's so bright he has to wear shades all the time, man.
Yeah, that's a great pick by the sports writers and everyone in charge of that. Nobody else on from the area on defense. By the way, news just breaking. Gee, this is a shock. Ohio State allowed to play in the Big Ten championship game. I'm shocked.
Wait, let me show you my shocked face.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay. Back to...
All right, first team defense in the Division III, state of Ohio. Chris Samarone, linebacker, first team. 5'11", 215-pound senior. That is absolutely a...
I think he was one of the best linebackers in our area.
No question about that. So we'll go to second team All-Ohio. Eric Babinchek from Howland, 5'10", 190-pound senior. Congratulations, second team All-Ohio. Second team wide receiver, All-Ohio, Ethan Fletcher, the 5'9", 150-pound senior from Canfield. Second team All-Ohio. Congratulations to him. We finish off the offense, so we'll go to the defense here real quick. Nobody on the defensive line. We'll go to the linebacking core. Nobody there. We'll go to the DBs. Nobody there. So now we're going to go third team, All-Ohio. And again, bear with us because it's literally coming off of the press. Nobody on third team on offense. So we'll go defense, third team, and again. Wow, this is a little disappointing. Third team defensively, there is nobody there as well. So we'll go honorable mention in the area. Zach Leonard, the 5'10", 180-pound senior from Niles. Honorable mention, all quarterback, All-Ohio. So we made honorable mention in the quarterback position. Zach Leonard from Niles. Honorable mention in other positions, T.C. Caffey from Hubbard, the 5'11", 202-pound junior running back. Honorable mention, All-Ohio.
No, this I think he deserves at least third team, but hey, that's just me.
That's a tough one. But he's a junior, and hopefully next year. Do you care to take a first team?
Chip, meet shoulder.
There you go.
Shoulder. Yeah, I think next year. I'm going to say another hot take. I think next year T.C. Caffey at least second team All-Ohio at least.
All right. Honorable mention All-Ohio wide receiver Eleni Fryer from
That's
Niles.
That's a good shot.
6 foot, 190-pound senior.
Very hard to defend.
So he is in the All-Ohio honorable mention. Honorable mention along the offensive line, Michael Meninock. Try that again.
I'm not looking at it. You're looking at it.
Meninock. Minenok. Meninock. From Canfield, 6'1", 225-pound senior. His running mate on the offensive line, Nick Huco. From Canfield, 6'2", 255-pound senior. Matthew Keeley from Niles, 6'3", 240-pound sophomore. Alex Goodrick, 6'4", 270-pound junior from Hubbard. Gage Gibson from Howland, 6'3", 265-pound junior. All of those guys, honorable mention, All-Ohio along the offensive line.
And there were a lot of juniors and sophomores that you just mentioned that have another year to get better.
Toby Smith, 6 foot, 205-pound junior from Canfield, All-Ohio honorable mention along the defensive line. Congratulations to him. Connor Ritz, 6 foot, 190-pound senior linebacker, honorable mention, All-Ohio. And we go to the defensive backfield. Do we have anyone? Delshawn Petrosky, 5'11", 170-pound senior. Honorable mention, All-Ohio in the DB. And Jason Hewlett, 6'2", 185-pound sophomore. All-Ohio DB, honorable mention. Jason Hewlett from Cheney. So there you go. There's your honorable mentions, All-Ohio. And some underclassmen. I'm a little surprised Petrosky didn't get honorable mention or third team All-Ohio at quarterback.
I mean, there were some surprises in there. Some people that I thought were maybe undervalued, and some people that maybe deserved to be on that list, like Petrosky, that weren't. So, that says, like I said, chip meets shoulder, and then you work hard. And a lot of those guys you just mentioned were underclassmen, either juniors or sophomores, and they have a reason to go and grind harder next year. I'm sure that list was riddled with kids from Chardon.
Oh yeah. I don't think there's any question about that. By the way, the Coach of the Year, Mitch Hewitt from Chardon.
Shocker.
The co-defensive players of the year, Michael Hall, the junior from Streetsboro. Michael Hall Jr. from Streetsboro. He's a senior. And Antoine Campbell Jr.
Michael Hall Jr.
He's a senior.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a junior, but he's a senior.
Okay.
Yeah, and Antoine Campbell Jr., who's a senior from Copley. They were the co-defensive players of the year. Jackson Gifford from Hamilton Ross, the offensive player of the year in Division III. Division II, Greg Bonifay from Riverside Stebbins, the Coach of the Year. Congratulations to him. Kerryon Davis from Archbishop Hoban, the Defensive Player of the Year. Zach Branham from LaSalle, the Offensive Player of the Year. So there you go. Mr. Football and D1 will be announced on Thursday. Frankly, we don't have anybody in Division I, so it really doesn't matter who is.
We'll be watching Mr. Football.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bo knows.
Yeah.
And Cam Hollenbaugh, too.
Yes. Now, there's a couple good candidates. Couple good candidates for Mr. Football. And again, I don't want to... I don't want to build that up because more times than not they pick from a larger school.
And you also don't want to, as much as we want that and it would be great, we don't want these kids to define their season or themselves by whether or not they were named Mr. Football or whether or not they were on first team or second team. Or at the end of the day, a lot of the guys voting on these things, they haven't seen you play in person. So it's great when you get it, and we're going to acknowledge you when you get it, but don't define your season based on where you land in an all-Ohio first, second, third team. Some of those, like TC Caffey, man, he have a really good season. So the fact that he was honorable mention, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't say anything about the kind of season he put together.
It's much like the high school polls.
Right.
Okay, they're nice. They're good, and you get a prize at the end of the year for being the AP state champion in their eyes.
Yeah, and it's something to be proud of, but it's nothing that has to do with going and winning in the tournament.
Yeah.
A lot of AP champions have lost in. I'm sure there have been a couple in the history that have lost in districts. It doesn't mean that.
This is where, and coaches already have enough on their plate, but this is where the coaches have to step up and say, okay, this is my guy. I'm gonna fight like hell to get as many people to recognize my guy
send tape
as possible. And you send tape to all these people and you go from there. It's a process. It is. It's a process. Everyone basically has to do their job, and it starts with the player. The player has to be good enough to be considered to be all Ohio. And then it's up to the coaching staff to promote this kid. Then it's up to the AD to help the coaching staff promote this kid. Then it's up to the people in our area that it's going to sit back and, well, we've seen this kid play. Let's vote on this kid. And I don't know how many people vote on this in terms of the sports writers in our area. I know I don't have a vote.
I don't have a vote either. We're members of the media. We should get a vote now.
Well,
we're YSN.
But
give us a vote.
But here's the thing. Can we? And let me ask you. I've often said this with if I had a vote for top team in the state of Ohio, I don't know if I could do that because I'm not educated enough to sit back and say, okay, which team is really the best team in the state.
Neither is writers in Columbus or writers. That's the thing.
Exactly.
You see who you see, and everyone else, you're kind of just looking at the record or maybe hearsay.
Yeah, it's tough. That's where even in college, when the folks from the Associated Press are doing the voting, and even the coaches that are doing the voting.
Well, it's different because every college team is on national TV, so you can.
Well, not every team is on national TV.
They're either on national TV or they're on the ESPNU, ESPN Plus, whatever it may be. They're very accessible.
Yeah,
for your
and that's why the mid majors get screwed, and because some of those mid majors don't get on national TV. That's why Cincinnati and some of the teams from the AAC are getting screwed.
They're very accessible. Like if you want to go watch a Cincinnati game, just go watch it. These writers, these committee members, whatever it may be, Cincinnati is not hard to find tape and to find what they're all about. You just go on ESPN app and you pull up their game.
Yeah.
And hopefully, in the near future, YSN can be that platform for the whole state, and we can just say, "Hey, go to YSN," and you want to see those teams. Hey,
do we have enough room on that brick wall to put all the teams in the state of Ohio? We're gonna have to knock some walls out. Do you think the folks next door is gonna mind?
This whole room is gonna be brick by brick. That's just what it's gonna be.
Yeah,
that's where we're going.
That's what I'm talking about.
And then when we fill up Ohio, we'll go to the next room and we'll do Pennsylvania. Then we'll do West Virginia, and then we'll do Kentucky.
Are we going to be doing the impersonation of the Democratic? Who was the guy that? And then we're going to go to New York, and then we're going to go to the White House. There you go.
We're taking over the world at YSA.
That's it. That's it. No,
And it starts with our area, of course.
Absolutely, and then we branch out. This is one way of making sure that the votes would be legit then, because Lord knows we have enough on tape on all of these teams to have an informed
Like
opinion.
the all districts or the all areas, people should be fine because there's no one that they couldn't have gone and watched.
Exactly.
On YSNLive.com.
Exactly. And that's so much fun being a part of that and knowing that, especially in today's world with the pandemic. And look, I was at Leetonia last night, and I was there basically to just observe the game, and I wind up keeping score for both the JV and the varsity game, which I'm happy to do because I'm a Leetonia alum and I love my school. There's no two ways about it. But to see hardly anyone in that gym, oh man, that was tough.
Rough.
That was tough. It really was.
Especially when you go to a game that you know is a marquee game.
Boardman, Poland.
And it's this.
And it's an empty gym, essentially.
But then again, you just kind of go, we're playing. And you just kind of try to keep it in perspective. They're playing.
And that's...
and a lot of teams in Ohio aren't right now. So
at the end of the day, that's what matters. And we're playing.
Even if, like, God forbid something happens, the parents aren't allowed to come, hey, they get the opportunity to play, whatever it takes. And that's what we said at the beginning of this shutdown when we didn't know if there were sports or not. Let them play. Whatever it takes, let the kids play. And we're gonna see if that happens, if we put our feet in the ground and say whatever it takes, no matter what, we're gonna let them play, or if we're gonna, whine and moan and then not let them play because people aren't allowed in the stands or whatever it may be. So we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't even come to that, but.
Okay, we get some more games that happened last night. There is a team, and it's early. I understand it's early, but there's a team that is potentially flying very, very much under the radar right now.
I feel like you're saying flying as a good metaphor too, because I think I know who you're talking about.
It's a team that's only played 2 games this year, but they looked good last night. Cardinal Mooney.
Yep, they flying because of the Cardinals.
Yeah, it's and the trio of Michael Pellini, Thomas Fire, and Mick Hergenrother. Holy crap, were these 3 on point last night? This is a good Cardinal Mooney team, and here's the scary part: they're not D2. They're D3. So that whole
everyone in that Salem district is
whole aspect of Salem being the house of terror for all of the local teams. We might have a Cardinal Mooney to save the day and help stir or stop the jinx of that tournament because it's been so long since we've had a district champion in that place.
Very under the radar, and to win over Steubenville like they did, dominating really. Very impressive.
Yeah, that was just a real solid performance in every quarter. That 19 points in the first quarter, 14 in the second, 19 in the third, 17 in the fourth. I'll take it. 69 points. If you're averaging 69, 70 points a game in high school basketball, you're going to win at least 17 games.
Especially if your defense is playing well.
Absolutely.
If your defense is playing well and you score 60. And you should win 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah. It's now, when I was coach, I made sure that the kids realized you have a threshold of points, and once you go past the threshold of points, you owe me a suicide or a quarter, or whatever you want to call it, for each point over that threshold. So my kids knew, okay, if I give up more than 27 points in a junior high game, I'm going to have to run. So if I give up 32, win or lose, I'm going to be running 5 gassers, suicides,
and that
quarter
number,
courts, whatever.
That number, I've talked to Coach Fitchell last night, and last year it was 40. He said, we want every team to be under 40. He goes, I've laxed that. I mean, he's still on the 40 board, but he's like, I'm not going to be as concerned with that because I've upped the tempo a little bit that we play, which naturally is going to raise our defensive numbers a little bit. So you have to gauge it based on the tempo and the style of basketball you play, of course, but at the same time, defense wins championships and offense sells tickets in basketball. So
Yeah, offense. Well, in a COVID world, it doesn't
It
matter
sells-
what you
it
you
gets,
do.
It gets YSN views.
Yeah.
Offense gets views.
There you go. But defense is always going to win championships. And
Unless you're playing football now, defense kind of offense wins championships. And
well,
because every team like in the NFL, oh man, they have a really good defense, but then all of a sudden, an offensive team just comes in and makes better plays.
You still got to play good defense, though.
Defense, but you don't see a lot of teams win just on their defense.
True. Very true.
Unless it's really special.
We have an interesting girls game that's going to be on the network tonight with West Branch and Fitch.
I'm excited.
This is
Ty Bartell gets the game of the week, man.
Yeah, this is an entertaining game.
It's Fitch's first game of the year too.
Yeah.
So to open with West Branch,
not bad.
Not a bad opener.
Not a bad opener.
Yeah,
not a bad opener.
West Branch is coming off a big win against Chippewa, and they seem to getting things in sync. And
yeah,
I think it's going to be a very, very fun game to watch.
Salem girls are going to be hosting Minerva, and we'll see what happens there. Salem has done a pretty nice job defensively, and we made mention that team lives and dies on its defense, and that's one of the reasons why they're going to be a solid team this year. Is if you play solid defense, you're always going to have a chance to win, even if you don't shoot the ball very well on a particular night. As long as you play lockdown defense, you should be able to be in a lot of ball games. So we'll see what transpires tonight in Salem when the Quakers take on Minerva.
There's only 2 games on the network tonight, but yeah, those are 2 really fun games. So tune in.
Yeah, Leetonia boys, and I don't think it's on the network tonight. Leetonia boys are in Sebring. They're taking on the Trojans. Look, I was there last night. They lost to United. 59-28. They were down 33-10 at halftime. They just had a bad night shooting. It was a really rough night shooting, and Ogilvie was scorching the nets in the second quarter, especially. He had 18 at the half, and I think he had 12 in the second quarter. I mean, he was just on fire. He wound up with 24. Keaton Baker had 8 points in the win for United, and 7 kids on the varsity team for Leetonia, and 2 of them were hurt. So do the math. A lot of junior varsity kids were dressing last night, and some of them actually played last night, which it's tough. When I saw the and I'll give Leetonia credit for something. They came up with a really interesting slogan for this year: 7 Brothers. And they have each of the varsity players wearing a 7 Brothers shirt on. And when I saw this, I was thinking to myself, this looks eerily familiar from Hoosiers, where they only had like 6 or 7 kids on their varsity team, and you were forced to not get into foul trouble, because if you did, then you're only hurting your chances of potentially winning a game. Now we got to find a Jimmy Chitwood to be on the Leetonia team to carry this team offensively, but it was
7 Brothers.
It was tough. It was tough to see. It was tough to see a bad shooting night, but they're going to get better. They are going to get better. There is talent on that floor. They're just going to get there. They got to shoot the ball better. Defensively, I thought they played okay. They were 10 of 12 from the free throw line, so that was good. But they just couldn't hit water if they fell out of a rowboat last night. It was tough to see. But if they shoot well, they're going to be in a lot of good games.
Usually, tough shooting nights don't also go with good free throw shooting nights. But hey,
yeah,
the universe is weird.
It was weird because they had 6 points in the first quarter, 4 or 6 points in the first quarter, and they're all from the free throw line. I was like, okay, this is interesting. But they finished 10 of 12 from the line, so at least they shot over 80% from the free throw line, which is good.
If you're shooting that well, though, I mean, the goal has to be to get there more.
Absolutely. And you got to take the ball to the rack to get the free throws. That's the one missing common denominator when teams aren't going to the free throw line. And it's not just Leetonia. It's any team that doesn't go to the free throw line an awful lot. That means you're not taking the ball to the basket. Because if you take the ball to the basket and someone fouls you, you're going to go to the free throw line for 2 shots. So there's your lesson for the day. Always take the ball to the hoop if you have that opportunity.
And there's really, and there's no excuse for a bad shot in high school because you don't have a shot clock. So you have all the time in the world to have ball movement, try to get some space, kind of drive. Yep. It amazes me when I see high school teams have so many and bad shot selection in their games, and I'm thinking, I don't know how much of Latonia's shooting problems was this bad shot selection or just an off night. I'm just saying, when you see high school teams, you're thinking, why? Like in college, you have 24 seconds, you have 30 seconds.
30, 35, 30 seconds.
In
the pros, you got 24.
10 seconds left, you have to throw up a shot.
Yep.
It happens.
Yep.
In high school, you really have all the time you want to either move the ball, kind of drive, whatever it may be. There's no reason to have a poor shot selection.
Let me ask you.
Unless, you can't handle ball pressure.
Let me ask you, because obviously we're now into the era of shots, and everyone loves the 3, and everyone is enamored with shooting the basketball. And you have a 30-second shot clock in the college game, and you have a 24-second clock in the pro game.
I know where you're going.
Is it time to put a 45-second clock in high school?
No.
Okay.
It'll only benefit the exceptionally good teams. Teams would really, really struggle a lot with a 45-second shot clock, and the teams that struggle with having talent, yeah.
Here's the other.
And then every school's got to put in a shot clock.
Thank you. And all the small schools have to do that.
Right.
And
put in 2 of them because you have to have one on each hoop.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing. No disrespect. Again, I was pulled in to do scoreboard duty last night, scorebook duty. So, that pretty much tells you that on some given nights you may not have enough people to do the bare minimum, let alone have a 45-second shot clock
on both
gyms.
A lot of gyms I'm at, they don't have enough people to do the stats on the side.
Yeah.
So it's like you all are going to have someone else do the shot clock?
Yeah, that comes into a lot of different variables. And you can't expect a referee to start counting on that. And Lord knows they can't even count 3 seconds.
I get it because it would benefit. It would really be good for some of these high-level teams, some of the great teams in the area to have a shot
absolutely.
Clock. But then you look at teams that are just struggling, or the teams that are just trying to build a program, and then you add a 45-second shot clock. It's like
it would be tough. It would be tough.
Toasted.
All right, let's go to Champ. Champ, you're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What up, brother?
How you guys doing?
Good.
Listen, I want to first of all, I love when Brian Driscoll comes on because I usually agree with almost everything he says, and today I once again. But and I will talk about first of all how this, because first of all, let me say this: I've been following this college selection thing for many years, and I always try to figure out why they did this, or until like 3 years ago, I decided to do something I should have done a long time ago. I actually Googled the playoff committee, and under that, they have the criteria. They list exactly what they look for. And I think a lot of people assume some things, but basically, the one thing they look at, and they call it the most pertinent statistic, is the strength of the schedule. That's top. They look at that first of all more than anything else. And what that means is that they like teams that have schedules that have all power conference teams on it. They love wins versus top 25. They love road wins against top 25 teams. And actually they kind of look positively toward quality losses on the road to good teams. What they don't like is when you schedule a lot of non-power conference teams. They don't like blowouts. If you get blown out in the game, okay, they don't like that at all. And evidenced by, you could use Notre Dame as an example, but Ohio State, the year they lost to Purdue, that was a killer. They didn't like that at all. And but it's very simple. They look at that strength of schedule, and this year is kind of weird because they almost have to use more of an eye test because of the way the scheduling is. But then it goes into the next category, which they label as tiebreakers. And there's 3 things that they label under the tiebreakers. The first thing is conference championships, okay? Now, that's a tiebreaker. That's not one of the top priorities because if it was, then Alabama and Ohio State wouldn't be qualifying by not even being in their championship games. The second one is records. And that explains why that if two teams are really close, but the other team has a better record, then they would use that. But that doesn't happen too often. Then head-to-head. That's why you can never assume that if one team beats another team, they're going to be automatically ranked ahead of that team, because it's in the tiebreaker situation. And the last two things they call the other factors, which are injuries and weather. In a good example, Ohio State, when they lost their quarterback, they were a little iffy about putting him in, but obviously when they came out and blew out Wisconsin, they said, you know what, they look pretty good with their quarterback they have right now. And then weather. There might be a game where the weather is just terrible and a very good team maybe loses a close game. They could take that into consideration, but that's way down on the list. We're talking about strength of schedule. And interesting, now I'm going to talk about what Big Ten, what Driscoll is talking about. The Big Ten has 4 teams ranked in the top 25: Ohio State, Indiana, Northwestern, and Iowa. They have a combined record of 21-4. Out of the 21 wins, you know how many wins they have against top 25 teams? 2. Ohio State beat Indiana, and Northwestern beat Iowa. Indiana has no wins over a top 25 team, and Iowa has no wins over a top 25 team. And it cracks me up how they were talking about Indiana, how they, just like BYU, they said, oh, we love Indiana. But Indiana is ranked 12th, and there's 3 teams with 2 losses that are ahead of them. So how good do they think Indiana really is? I mean, they were just saying they've had a good season, but they don't really think that highly of Indiana. If you're 6-1 and you're ranked 12th, and you got 3 teams with 2 losses that are ranked ahead of you, that's not good.
Well, you also have a mid-major ranked in front of you in Cincinnati.
Right. Now, in terms of, you may think, well, 2 wins against top 25, that doesn't sound that bad, but Alabama has 3 wins against top 25. Missouri, Georgia, and Texas A&M, and they have to play Florida left. Florida's got 2. They got Missouri and Georgia, and they got Alabama left. Clemson only has 1 over Miami, but they lost the close to Notre Dame, but they play Notre Dame again. And Notre Dame has a win over Clemson and North Carolina, and they got Clemson. So there's your top 4 teams, and they all have more wins than all 4 of those teams combined. Now, Texas A&M, I know a lot of people like to talk about them, but they have only 1 win, and that's against Florida. Now the situation becomes, so what's left on this season for these teams? How many of these teams can actually improve their resume in the next 2 weeks? So I'm looking at this. This is what team that's not currently in the top 4 can improve their resume enough to get them into that top 4. And in my opinion, there's only one team that can do that, and that's Florida. Because Texas A&M, they got nothing left. They're not any more championship games. There's really nothing left for them that they can improve their spot. They've been at number 5 the whole time, and they've been behind Ohio State throughout these whole rankings. Other than Florida, I don't know what team out of the top 4 has a game left that can vault them into the top 4. I just don't see it happening. I mean, unless you think Cincinnati win over Tulsa, that ain't happening. Iowa State over Oklahoma, that's not going to happen. It's interesting because the 3 teams that really have a chance to improve their resumes are Alabama, Notre Dame, and Clemson, who are already in the top 4. Now the question becomes, can one of those top 4 teams lose and get them out of the playoffs? If Alabama loses to Florida, they're still in. I think if Notre Dame loses to Clemson, they're going to be in unless it's annihilation. Now, if Clemson loses to Notre Dame and Florida beats Alabama, okay, I think Clemson is in trouble. That's the only scenario where I think I think the one scenario where Ohio State could be out is if Florida beats Alabama and Clemson Notre Dame is a close game. I think that's the only scenario where I see Ohio State. Now, even though they don't have a strength of schedule, but Ohio State still has, they're Ohio State, and they do have kind of an eye test. And I think that last game for them against Michigan State might have been their best game of the season. But I agree with what a lot of people are saying. The worst thing that happened to Ohio State right now is lose a game. And they're not going to lose to Northwestern. They got them in there. There's no reason why Ohio State would want to play Texas A&M at this point. Because if they beat Texas A&M, does that really get them into the top 4? But the loss could be much more damaging. They're almost better off to not play anymore, because I think what they got right now is a resume that they're not really going to improve by beating. They're not going to improve their resume by beating Northwestern. That ain't going to happen. So they just got to not lose and just hang in there and hope that scenario that Alabama does not lose to Florida. Because really, I agree with Herbstreit when he said, this is not about Texas A&M. This is not about number of games Ohio State's playing. The only thing that this gives Ohio State, that gives them a tiebreaker with a conference championship if they need to do that. But this is all about what's going to happen at 4 o'clock and what's going to happen at 8 o'clock. the Clemson-Notre Dame game and the Florida-Alabama game are going to determine Ohio State's fate. Not necessarily what they do, because they're going to win this championship of the Big Ten. And I think if Alabama wins, Ohio State's in. I think that's why Herb Street was right on. Roll Tide. And if that first game, if Clemson wins that first game, if Clemson wins that first game, and Alabama loses to Florida, I think Ohio State's out. That's where you're going to have 2 ACC and 2 SEC. But I don't think Florida's going to lose. Florida's going to beat Alabama. I think that Alabama win puts Ohio State in. And that's just based on the criteria that the committee puts on their website that you can follow. And they've usually been pretty consistent year after year. I really can't think of a year where the only thing was the bizarre year where TCU was, remember, they were like 2 and dropped to 6.
Yeah.
And I think that was the year Ohio State got in and won the championship.
Yes.
But I think that the Big Ten is a train wreck, but Ohio State is still a jewel in that Big Ten, even though their schedule doesn't show it. But Ohio State's got the eye test, they got the talent, and I think that they're going to make this as long as they don't lose, and as long as Florida doesn't beat Alabama, I think that they're safely in.
So, Champ, I'll pose the question that Brian Driscoll his point was the number of games you play matter, because you have to prove that you can kind of go through the attrition of a season as well. So if someone plays 3 or 4 more games in Ohio State, or even 2 or 3 more games in Ohio State, how much does that matter to you based on the eye test, if the eye test is close? Because Brian Driscoll's point was Ohio State hasn't had many opportunities to trip up and lose like they did against Purdue and Iowa in years past.
I agree with that. But which team outside the top 4 besides Florida can challenge Ohio State's 6-0 record? I mean, Iowa State, Cincinnati, Texas A&M, once again, they got, Texas A&M has got an average margin of victory, I think, 10 in their wins. That's not too good. I think Notre Dame has like 22 in their average victories. But Texas A&M got blown out by Alabama, and that's that blowout strategy. They always talk about that. And whenever a team doesn't make it, they always go, well, Ohio State had that blowout to Purdue. That killed them. Notre Dame, when they had the blowouts. Remember when Notre Dame was 15th? Ron, you remember this. Last year they were 15th after they got blown up by Michigan. Yep. They went 6-0 the rest of the season and blew everybody out. And guess what they finished? 15th. They don't like when you get blown out, and that blowout lost to Alabama. I don't know how much that helps Texas A&M.
That's why theoretically the Ohio State would really benefit from a win over Texas A&M, because if they go in and let's say they blow out Texas A&M too, I don't think they get jumped out by the loser of the ACC championship. I think, if you have that solid win against a top 5 team and you blow them out or something, then you jump the loser of the ACC championship, no matter who it is or how close the game is.
Well, let me say this, though. I looked at the Vegas.
The game's not going to happen.
Vegas put odds on 2 games with Ohio State. First game was Coastal Carolina, because if they were going to play them. Ohio State would be favored by 25 points. The second one was Texas A&M. They'd be favored by 12 points. So I think Ohio State, the risk of losing that Texas A&M game is not worth playing it. They're almost, I don't know if by beating Texas A&M changes anything I've said. Would they go ahead of Florida? Would they go ahead of Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Maybe Clemson, maybe? I don't think so.
I think they'd go
because by beating Texas A&M?
By beating a top 5
ahead of Notre Dame?
If Notre Dame lost the ACC championship, they would.
Yeah, but Notre Dame is so far ahead in strength of schedule right now, I don't even think Ohio State can even come close to that.
Their strength of schedule is Clemson and North Carolina, who lost to Virginia. I mean,
Ohio State has beat one team with a winning record.
We're saying if Ohio State were to play Texas A&M, it's not going to happen. But if that were to happen, their strength of schedule, in my opinion, would be higher than
it would be up there.
It would be up there with Notre Dame, not higher, but it would be on equal ground. So if Notre Dame were to go to lose to Clemson, then I would jump Ohio State over Notre Dame if they played Texas A&M.
Even if Cincinnati were COVID free and Ohio State played Cincinnati, again, you're talking about a top 10. According to the committee, you'd be talking about a top 10 team. And as much as Ohio State hasn't played a lot of top 25 clubs, this would be their second. They beat Indiana. This would be their second top 25 team, and that would equal what Notre Dame has done, beating Clemson and beating North Carolina.
And then Ohio State gets a third with Northwestern. I mean, it's not even, but it's still a top 25 team, right?
Yeah.
So
but Cincinnati started off. They were 7th in the ratings. They're 8th now.
Yeah.
They haven't even played. I mean, Cincinnati has really they haven't done anything in the last 3 weeks or since they started ranking these teams. And they're stuck at 8. The big thing, and let's be honest, Cincinnati and Coastal Carolina and these other teams, they're trying to get into that slot. That's all about the slot. That's why BYU and Coastal Carolina played. That was all about not getting in the top 4. That was about getting into that one slot on New Year's Day they give to the smaller conferences. That's what this is all about. And right now, Cincinnati's they got the edge, but not by much. And that's why they probably this Tulsa cancellation was good for them. Now they're going to play Tulsa in 2 weeks, and that could vault them into that game if they win that game. Other than that, they have no chance to get in this Final Four. I think it's ridiculous to think that they have a chance.
Agreed. Although I still would love to see Cincinnati play Ohio State. I'm just saying. I think it would be a great game.
If something happens and Ohio State doesn't make the playoffs, we might see that.
I think it would be a great game.
Well, what we're going to see next year? Notre Dame plays Cincinnati next year.
Yes, they do.
That'll be interesting.
Maybe
I agree with Herb Street, though. I think he's right on. I think this is all about those 2 games that happen on Saturday night. And if Notre Dame beats Clemson that first game, I think Ohio State fans are going to say that was a good win for us. But if Florida beats Alabama, it's going to be interesting. But I think Alabama's going to blow Florida out, and I think Ohio State makes it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens, champ.
Yeah, but that's just my humble opinion of looking at this for years and years and years. But most of the time, it makes sense to me, and that's because they pretty much follow the criteria. And but it's funny when they said we love BYU, but they're 14th undefeated. We love Indiana, but they're 12th. I mean, they can say that stuff, but they really don't have. And the Big Ten is a train wreck this year. Let's be honest, they're a train wreck. The Big Ten, but it's not Ohio State's fault.
Has Indiana ever finished a football season in the top 10?
I don't know, but you know what? And that's sad because even though it's the Big Ten's a train wreck this year, Indiana's a great story. Let's be honest. It's a great story, and they're going to get a nice game, a bowl game somewhere.
Hopefully
and their expectations are much different than Ohio State. Let's face it. This would be great just to play on New Year's Day for them. That would be unbelievable.
Sure.
And that's what I mean. But the Big Ten really, and they really covered some face today by letting Ohio State play, because they ruined this season by this. We're going to play 6 games in 6 weeks. And that's it. I mean, really? Mm-hmm. I mean, even the Southeastern Conference, only took them. It took them 5 weeks for the Big Ten to practice and get ready for the season. I think whoever made those decisions have egg on their face. And if Ohio State ends up not going because of the number of games played, it's the Big Ten's fault.
And it's part of the reason why I don't want to see a Big Ten team in there. And I kind of agree with what Brian's saying, even though Ohio State is deserving, because the talent-wise they are deserving.
That's the end of the conversation, then.
But that's not. But that's,
you can't say Ohio State's one of the top 4 teams, but they don't get in because of what their heads of the conference made a decision. That's just, if you think they're one of the top 4 teams.
Talent-wise, they are. Resume-wise, they're not.
I don't care. Talent-wise, see, that's where I differ with the argument. If their talent and their football skills are the top 4 in the country,
there's a big difference, though.
Then they deserve to be playing for the top 4.
There's a big difference. If we're going to say talent-wise, then give me Georgia in this top 4.
Not this year, but back when we were talking about that, the Georgia year that Brian Driscoll brought up, when Georgia was 2 losses and they were clearly on film, you could tell they were one of the top 4 teams in the country. It was, you could tell. This year, it's not.
I'll say this about Ohio State. I think what really hurt Ohio State was that the normal schedule they have every year, where they play a couple MAC teams early in September, and they usually have a lot of young guys because a lot of their guys graduate early and go to the NFL. They didn't have that luxury this year. They didn't practice. They didn't have any games. And I think that when they were playing these games, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, those are like the games they usually play at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And I just think that they just were behind the 8 ball, and it just took them more time to develop. And I think the problem with them right now is not so much how many games they played, but they need to play a game to get more game time in. They have a young secondary, and I think they're getting better. But they're just way behind in terms of the ACC and SEC, who's played a lot more games. I mean, look at what Notre Dame did in their 4th game against what they almost lost 12-7 to what?
Louisville. Yeah, it was Louisville.
Yeah. I mean, So are we going to that? We should judge that compared to Ohio State, because after 4 games in that Louisville game, I'm not sure Notre Dame would be in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, well, look, I'm all about the resume, and that Ohio State doesn't have a resume. Then again, not many teams have a resume because it's a short season this year. So that's the other argument.
Well, any other team in the Big Ten, if this was Indiana, Illinois, whatever, if they were 5-0, they wouldn't be ranked 4th right now. They wouldn't be. This is about Ohio State's dominance.
But Camp, if they were 5-0, they would have beaten Ohio State. So yeah, they would be number 4.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know if they played them.
Well, Indiana, if we're talking about Indiana at least.
Yeah. But anyways, I think that, like I said, Alabama. I guarantee, if you're a Ohio State fan, you got to. Alabama's the key game, in my opinion. They got to make sure Alabama wins. And if they blow Florida out, that also hurts Texas A&M. By the way.
Oh, no question, because Texas A&M beat Florida. Well, Texas A&M got road driven by
That'll
Bama.
be interesting because if Florida gets blown out, who gets that second SEC like New Year's Bowl game? The loser of the SEC championship who lost to Texas A&M or Texas A&M? I mean, that'll be interesting.
That'll be interesting too, but that's. And by the way, it's funny. This Ohio State Michigan game, which everyone is so screwed, they're just going crazy. It's canceled. Well, people outside of Columbus and outside of Michigan, they don't really care about it because this game has not been very good in the last 16 out of 17 years or something. It's been a horrible game. It's not even a rivalry. But only Columbus and Michigan, I understand that. But outside of those two college towns, people could care less about that game because the game is terrible every year.
Yeah, it's turning into that. Champ, thanks for the call, brother. Appreciate it.
Okay, take care, guys.
See you. Breaking news coming out in the last few minutes. Browns game against the New York Giants has been moved to primetime. Sunday nights, December the 20th.
All of a sudden, that's like the Giants are at the top of their division. They're fighting for a playoff spot.
Don't forget about that Washington football club.
I know, and that's why I said they're fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
It's not theirs. By the way, Alex Smith, my guy, I love you.
Is he not the comeback player of the century?
If he wasn't before, he's got to be there now.
Come on, this is ridiculous. What's going on over there? It's this is too much fun. So the December 20th game between the Browns and the Giants that will be played on primetime Sunday Night Football. So there you go, Browns fans. You now have
back-to-back primetime
Monday night game against the Ravens, a Sunday night game against the Giants, and then you take on the Jets on
But then after that
Sunday.
Jets game, that Steelers game might be moved to primetime too.
Do we have Sunday Night Football on the last game of the year? I don't think we do.
I don't think we do. It might be
this is a 425.
It'll have if a playoff spot's on the line, it'll absolutely be moved to 425.
If the division
because
is
that's
on
the
the
rule.
line.
That's the rule. You put the playoff contending games in the late spot.
Yeah.
They'll always move the games that have playoff. What's the word I'm looking for?
Playoff
implications.
There
They'll
you
always move those games up to 420. That way, they're all playing at the same time.
Okay, now we don't do this just to make our boss angry because he's a Steeler fan, but this is kind of. Well, no, I don't. I don't. I honestly don't. But here's an interesting little thing. And again, I don't believe that this division is in play right now. Right now, it's not. It could be. Right now, it's not in play, but it could be in play. Let's assume for a second, and we'll get Emmanuel on hold. So, Emmanuel, we got you on hold. Let's assume for a second Buffalo beats Pittsburgh. All of a sudden, now the Steelers are 11-2. Let's assume, again, Cleveland beats Baltimore. Now it's a one-game lead. Now it's actually a two-game lead because Pittsburgh has the tiebreaker. But what happens if these two teams are even going into the last game of the year?
I've said it before. If something's on the line in that game, I think the Steelers win.
That's a 425 game. There's no question. And then you're looking at national audience for the Browns and all the people that were moaning and groaning about, well, we're not getting any good. Well, last year you got all kinds of national exposure. This year, now you've got back-to-back games. You've got Baltimore Monday night in Cleveland. Might be in front of nobody if we have the curfew law in effect. And the Giants now has been moved to Sunday night.
I know. We all thought we all knew the NFC East was going to be bad, but if I would have told you the Giants were going to be moved to a primetime game in the late season, The Giants.
The Giants.
Like out of that whole the Giants.
The freaking Giants. Yeah. Unbelievable. The
Without
Giants,
Daniel Jones, by the way, because he didn't play last week.
Daniel Jones is hurt, and he's really hurt. Okay, that's the little Daniel Boone.
Emmanuel, save us, please.
Yeah. Let's go to Emmanuel. You're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's up, brother?
Well, how my brother's doing today?
I'm good. Yourself?
Oh, okay, but I have to do a public service announcement.
All right, I love your public service announcements.
Here we go.
And I'm sitting out there at Walmart in the electronics department.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know me. I'm always stealing down, Ron. You know I'm always stealing down, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I look around, and I'm seeing these Cleveland Browns on people's face masks, you know, on their jackets, you know, they sweaters, they pullovers. I'm surrounded by Cleveland Browns, right? And then one of them walked up to me and said, hey, sorry about you guys getting beat. He says, you know that we're 9-2, you know, and we're going to beat you, and we're going to win the division.
Oh, boy.
One thing, you're 9-3.
Yeah.
Well, and I looked at him and I said, you know, there's something you need to realize. First of all, we are 11-1, and we are going to the playoffs. Second of all, one of those 11 wins that we had, we mopped the floor with you guys. Now, when we beat you guys, I couldn't wear my Steeler gear because people say that I was rubbing it in. Now you guys are running your mouth again. Don't forget that you hit us in the head with a helmet. We're going to beat y'all like y'all stole something. He put his head down and walked away.
Huh?
I don't understand. I was listening to your show yesterday, and DJ, I agree. I don't understand why these Cleveland Brown fans get such joy. They even asked me to come to the dark side. Y'all got 9 wins, dude. You might not even make the playoffs.
And it's not just the Browns. It's anyone who does that in general. If your team is good or if your team's not good, but you're taking greater joy out of your rival losing, that's first of all, it's moronic.
Well, it's a mixture. It's the Browns are finally good, so you've been held down for 14 years, and all of a sudden there's this eruption of we're a good team. So that excitement's bubbling up.
No,
and then there are people that take the rivalries that way, where no matter what, I'm rooting against you, and if you lose, I'm going to let you know about it. And I'm guilty of it with Georgia, because when you're at a different level than the other team and they kind of get knocked down a peg, you got to make fun of them a little bit. When Georgia lost to Alabama in the national championship, you bet I was all over that when they gave up that big throw to some Tua.
Yeah, but Georgia Tech didn't have anything to do with it.
Exactly, but I was all over it because it was my rival losing. And when your rival loses, especially when they're at a different level than you, they've been beating you for a while.
Yeah.
Anytime you can take a shot at the king, you take it. You take it. So I get it. You know, I know Steeler fans are just going to have to live with it, and then close your eyes and just beat them in Week 17, and that'll all stop.
Let me give a nice quick story. When the 1 year that I had season tickets with the Indians, the first year Progressive Field, Jacobs Field, opened up in 1994, a group of us had season tickets. Well, the Yankees were in town that weekend, and we were sitting behind some folks that flew in from the city, flew in from New York to watch the Friday night game against the Indians. And the people around the Yankee fans were giving them so much grief. And I finally looked around and I said, wait a second. Look, I don't like the Yankees as much as anyone else, but are you guys this stupid? And they looked at me and they were like, what are you talking about? I said, we haven't won a freaking thing since 1948. And you're going to trash talk a team that's won championships upon championships
absolutely you
upon
are.
championships? You're out of your freaking mind. You're a moron. Get out of here. And they're looking at me. They're like, well, you're a Yankee hitter. You're a Yankee lover. I said, the hell I am. I'm not. But I'm not going to sit here and it sounds low-rent district garbage when people do stuff like that. It drives me nuts.
Well, what does Charles Barkley say? It don't mean a thing if you ain't got a ring.
Well, that's a little painful because we don't have a ring anywhere except for the '88 national championship at Notre Dame, and that ring's got that ring's got rust on it now. So I need another ring.
I have to agree with you. And maybe it's a disagreement with Tony. I have to agree with you. I watched the game, and I watched Josh Allen, and I was disappointed. He's been around long enough to know to have that clock in his head. He shouldn't have got sacked on the backside. You should know. He's been around long enough. And I think the last 3 weeks he's been digressing instead of progressing. What do you think?
Are you serious right now?
Josh Allen had one of the best games.
Josh Allen was just named the AFC Offensive Player of the Week this week because he had a dominating performance against one of the best defenses in the National Football League this week. I mean, Emmanuel, you're picking one play.
Ron. Just like people said I was crazy when I said the Browns had a good team. I'm a film guy, and I'm watching him. Now, listen, we could put a team together and beat the doggone Cowboys. I don't know what they were playing out there. But I'm here to tell you, if you watch him, he's making mistakes that he shouldn't make. Now, he's better than Baker Mayfield, no doubt about it. But I think he was a better quarterback last year than what he is this year. And I think you were right when he got drafted. Maybe he's not their franchise quarterback.
No, I could not disagree with you more. He has had a much better year this year than last year. Josh Allen, I said this 2 years ago in his rookie year when he struggled, and mainly because some other people were saying it about the same time I was saying it. Josh Allen is a very green. 2 years ago was a very green John Elway.
I can't go up.
Yeah, very green John Elway. A lot of similarities. Both big guys, both strong-armed guys, both mobile quarterbacks, the whole 9 yards. Josh Allen has grown up to the point now where if you look at his first 3 years in comparison to what Elway did his first 3 years in Denver, there are striking similarities between the two. And Allen is well on his way to becoming a very close clone to John Elway. I'm just saying it. He's on his way.
Are you saying he's a franchise quarterback?
He's on his way to becoming a clone.
He asked you a question.
Is he a franchise quarterback
right now?
Right now. When he wins a playoff game, he'll be a franchise quarterback.
Okay, so that's
a no.
That's a no.
Right now it's a no.
Romo.
Right now it's a no because he has not won a playoff game. He's been to the playoffs one time, and they crapped on themselves in the second half in a winnable game against Houston.
Well, what I'm saying is, I didn't say he wasn't a good quarterback. I'm just saying I'm watching him. Just like I'm not saying the Browns are a bad team. They won 9 games.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, I understand, because I'm complaining, and we're 11-1, and we can't even run the ball. I don't get that.
Well, you're 11-1 because a lot of really good things have happened to this team. But and let me look. You'll be honest, and in your team's performance, the last 3 weeks you've sleptwalked. The last 3 weeks.
You're also 11-1 because if Alex Smith wasn't in the league, you'd have the comeback player of the year. Because the season that Ben Roethlisberger's putting together, maybe one of the best seasons of his career.
And it's a shame in a lot of ways.
Anthony, let me say this, and I told them too. I told the Browns people too. I said, listen, you guys forget that Ben got hurt last year. You guys forget that we was down to our 4th-string quarterback who was a duck. Right? You guys forget. I said everybody that talked trash to us and beat us down like that, we was writing down names. So go ahead and talk that trash because we won't stay down forever. We're the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're not.
The biggest stat that I'm impressed with Big Ben this year is how fast he's getting rid of the ball.
Oh, yeah.
I think he gets rid of the ball statistically faster than anybody else in the NFL. And that's something that you could not say about Big Ben in his career.
The other thing that has impressed me is he's come back from an injury that up until this year you don't come back from. What Roethlisberger's doing right now, and it's such a damn shame that he's being upstaged.
Almost.
Well, he is being upstaged.
I mean, it's almost a shame.
Well, okay, Alex Smith is a great human being,
right.
And I think everyone universally loves this story because he's such a great human being. If he was an a-hole, nobody would love this story. I mean, they would respect it, but nobody would love this story.
17 surgeries or 18? How many surgeries did he have?
He had a lot, and he was on death's door, which is the reason why he's not only the comeback player of the year, he's a comeback player of the century, and ain't nobody going to come anywhere remotely close to what Alex Smith is doing right now. And that's the shame of it, because what Ben Roethlisberger is doing right now with the Steelers in an injury that up until this year you had Got's chance to become successful again. What Roethlisberger is doing is remarkable. It is absolutely remarkable how great of a season he's having. And I will say what I said yesterday. I wish that they had beaten Washington because I felt a whole lot more comfortable about Buffalo's chances on Sunday, being it was going to be the third game in 12 days. If they sleepwalk through Washington and they get the win, Buffalo's right there to slap them back into reality. Now, unfortunately, Pittsburgh got slapped back into reality a week early. Now they're pissed. They're ready to play. Tomlin has
There's another point too.
flat out said, "What do we do with all these people that dropped the ball?" Well, I'm not going to play these people. I love that comment. I love the fact that he's now into their head saying, "Okay, you had your mulligan. You guys screwed up. You had your mulligan. You sleptwalked. You got caught by a mediocre team at best, who's now playing better. But now I'm on you like white on rice, and now it's time for you to start playing football." And now all of a sudden, okay, Buffalo's going to be coming in, albeit at home, but they're going to be welcomed. They're going to be welcoming in an angry group of Steelers. And now this game becomes a whole lot more up in the air.
And I also think, I mean, when you're talking about the Steelers' success, I think this year especially, Mike Tomlin's one of the better coaches in the league. In years past, I've had some gripes with Mike Tomlin, but this year I think he is definitely one of the best coaches in the NFL, and he's in the conversation for Coach of the Year. A lot of coaches are in that conversation, but he's in it too.
If it weren't for Stefanski having this breakout year, he's at the top of my list.
Or Flores, I put Flores.
Flores is at that list as well. And if New England wins out, I hate saying this, but Belichick, this is one of his greatest coaching jobs ever, because everyone and their brother left New England because of either COVID or they were not wanting to play for New England anymore. Hello, Tom Brady. If he goes 10-6 and they went out and go 10-6, he's got to be up there as well. Not that they're going to, because they have Buffalo left on their schedule.
You know, I jump around. This is the last thing that I got to go. But you were smart, Ronnie, because you would have been wearing that New York Yankees hat, right? And you probably had to send a picture to Eric Boland, the JFK grad, when the Yankees played the Indians in that 3-game series. You knew the Yankees were going to win that series. You knew it, didn't you?
What? Which series?
The last series, playoff series last year, when the Indians played the Yankees.
Well, the best of three. When New York won the first game, it became pretty apparent that they had the driver's seat and that they were going to win the series.
And man, you talk bad about Yankees hats, Ronnie. I love you, my brother, man, but that wasn't right, man. Y'all have a good day.
All right, you as well. Well, listen, you still didn't do anything after beating the Indians. Still didn't go anywhere. But you beat the Indians. But you did beat the Indians.
To your logic, the Indians, they can't trash talk.
You're right. Can't trash talk them if they lost. I mean, it is what it is.
I would trash talk the heck out of them. I don't care. Because they're the Yankees, and anytime they get embarrassed.
Yeah, but you had the opportunity to beat them, and you didn't.
Don't care.
That's the whole argument with that. Now, having said that, did I take great pleasure in one of Brady's losses in the Super Bowl? Hell yeah, I did.
It's the same reason that every president will have someone delegated on SNL to play them every week, because you just try to take shots at authority, and you try to take shots at the people up top. So no matter who the president is, there's always going to be someone on SNL that their only job is to mock them.
Who's going to do Joe Biden?
I don't know. There'll be someone.
Yeah. I mean, Alec Baldwin, you can argue his career got reborn with him.
He would make a good Biden.
Impersonating Trump. His career got reborn.
Reborn.
Yeah. Well, let's go to Rich. Rich, you're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's going on, Rich?
Good afternoon, my fine guys. What's happening?
What up, brother?
You know, cooking, eating, and getting fat.
There you go. Good. What kind of eats are we talking about here, brother?
Man, we're making bacon and veggie and cheese burritos today.
Ooh.
Okay, I need an address so I can come over and beg for food.
Hey, there's curb service. There's curb service anytime, Rico.
I appreciate it, man.
Rich, COVID takes your taste away, so keep making sure you don't have it by keep eating, brother.
I got news for you. If I have COVID, I've smashed all of the atrocities because my taste buds are great. And we're adding some diced cucumber and shredded lettuce and a couple other things in there too. So it's like eating a really healthy, with healthy protein and a lot of veggies. So it's like eating a salad and a main meal at the same time.
There you go. What's on your mind, man?
Well, what's happening is this AFC North, actually the entire AFC is getting pretty interesting.
It could get more interesting if Cleveland takes care of their business and the Bills take care of Cleveland's business Sunday against Pittsburgh.
Kansas City's business, really.
Well, Kansas City's business, too. I mean, there's two franchises that should be on board Bills Mafia this week. Kansas City and Cleveland need to jump on board the Bills Mafia train.
Okay. And what is Bills Mafia train, if I may ask?
Well, they're playing Pittsburgh, and obviously, if Cleveland has any hopes of winning that division, you need Pittsburgh to lose at least 2 more games between now and the end of the regular season, or now and the final game of the season. So Buffalo's a losable game for Pittsburgh.
That injury to that one key defensive player really hurt them.
Bud Dupree, yep.
Yep.
As far as Pittsburgh. I thought by now they would have traded or signed somebody to fill in, but I don't know if they have it. Hopefully their backup doesn't have that kind of horsepower.
Listen, they're still a dangerous team. There's no two ways about that. They are a very dangerous team, and Buffalo has their work cut out for them to win on Sunday.
Well, we know what we'll be cheering for on Sunday.
Yeah, I hear you.
And just a couple points on the Browns. This is the first season I've been excited about the Browns since their reinception.
Okay. Well, I mean, you had a playoff team in what, 2002, 2003?
It might have been. It was under Mangini. I think 4, maybe. I don't know.
No, it was 3. It was Butch Davis.
Lost to the Steelers in the wild card.
Yeah, it was Butch Davis, and then they had the All-Pro year from Derek Anderson, but they didn't get into the playoffs at 10-6.
Okay. Well, those were still nothing like what we're experiencing now.
Oh, no question. As I've made mention to the newbie Browns fans, you're getting a very small taste of what life was like as a Browns fan in the 80s.
Hopefully it doesn't end the same way.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah.
Let's hope he doesn't go into prevent like Marty, or his whole season's a wash.
Wow.
That's why Marty couldn't win the playoffs.
Yeah.
He couldn't win anywhere with that.
Even in Kansas City.
Yeah, really. This Stefanski is showing. He's showing some brass. He's showing some moxie.
I like it.
He definitely has a good quality about him. There's no two ways about that.
I'm hoping that at this stage of the season, with all these games under his belt, that he hasn't shown a lot of his cards yet, and that would be the true sign of a really good coach. If you know what I mean. Now, the offensive line is healthy. The defensive line is healthy. Our linebackers have stepped up. And the defensive backs, they're doing their job. It may not be flashy, but they're getting it done somehow.
Yeah, I'm not big on their DBs. Actually, I'm not even big on their back seven. But as long as you get a solid pass rush, you can hide the warts of a mediocre to below average secondary with a nice pass rush, and that's where Myles Garrett comes into play.
The best thing that this season is for the Browns, no matter what they do in the playoffs or if they get in the playoffs, they're gonna have the same coach next year as they have this year. They're finally gonna have stability.
Yeah, you would think.
Which Browns fans should be so happy about because, man, they haven't had any coaching stability or GM stability in a long time. So they get stability.
Hopefully, Jimmy Haslam and D are secluded somewhere where they can't make stupid decisions anymore. So there you go.
In the Lou Ray Caverns in Virginia.
Yeah. Well, either that or at their gas station in East Tennessee, robbing people of different stuff. So, yeah.
Well, the Flying J's out in Hubbard. Let's hope he's buried there in a snowstorm. Anyway, you made a good statement there, Ron, about what's a great defensive line. And I'll tell you what, Sheldon Richardson has really stepped up.
Yeah, he's having a very nice year this year. And Olivier Vernon, when Garrett was out, he stepped up to the plate. I thought he did pretty well. But, look, the conversation begins with Myles Garrett. You have to have a healthy Myles Garrett for this team to have any chance at making any kind of a run for a postseason. He's that important to this team, and if you can get Garrett healthy and performing, then I think that the Browns are going to be in pretty good shape to get into the playoffs. When you get into the playoffs, you might be one and done, but getting to the playoffs, that's step one in getting back to being a consistently good football team again.
Amen. The Pittsburgh Steelers have lived on that defensive line, with the exception of Polamalu. Their secondary hasn't been all that great, but that defensive line has covered those sins for years, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's an awesome plan.
Yeah, and they got a good kid in Minkah Fitzpatrick, that's for sure.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He's he's good. No two ways about it.
All right, guys. Well, it's good to hear you back on the radio, Ron. I'm glad you're okay, and I'll catch you guys. I'll catch more. Being as Anthony's a Piker and he's off on Friday, I'll catch you on Friday, Ron.
There you go. All right, 330-886-0813. By the way, some disturbing news. Wyatt Teller, the starting right guard, is on the virus list. He's on the COVID-19 reserve list. He is in jeopardy of missing Monday night's game against Baltimore.
Rich brings up a good. Now that I'm really thinking about, I can name a lot of Steelers linebackers from the last 10 or 15 years, and a lot of linemen, but when you talk about their corners and their safeties minus Polamalu, I don't know how many I can name.
Yeah, that's
Ryan Clark.
A couple of them that you don't want to name.
Only because he's on ESPN, not because of what he did in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, exactly. Ike Turner, not Ike Turner. What the hell was that guy's name?
Taylor?
Ike Taylor. He wasn't very good. Now Minkah Fitzpatrick is solid.
But we're talking about the last decade or so.
And that's where you have to have either a really nice pass rush,
and maybe you can have corners that are decent.
Yeah,
they're just not in the name popping. But I can't think of any secondary players even in the Steelers' heyday, and I'm sure Steelers fans can because they're Steelers fans, and I'm not. But it's tough.
Yeah, but if you have a good pass rush, like I said,
good linebackers and
good pass rush and good linebackers, they disguise all the warts back in the secondary.
And you're playing terrible quarterbacks, in your division back then because you had whoever was in Flacco was Browns, whoever they threw out.
Well, the Browns didn't throw out anybody.
Carson Palmer at best in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So
interesting, very interesting. All right, John Vargo is coming up in a bit. We'll talk with John. Lots of high school stuff to get to, and YSU as well. YSU taking on Point Park tonight. They're not taking on the junior college or the NAIA college from Virginia. Point Park from PA.
So that changed really quick.
That changed on a dime.
On Monday, we were gearing up for who was it? I don't
even know who it was. And now it's Point Park. So the kids from the Berg are coming into Youngstown to play YSU tonight.
Welcome to 2020.
Yeah, welcome to 2020. John Vargo coming up next. Stick around.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions, reminding you that it is open enrollment for Medicare.
Now through December 7th, those who qualify can visit our local independent agency by calling us at 330-953-3722 or visiting us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Attention all football fans. If you can't see your team play, come and dine with us and watch it live at Boardman, Canfield, or Cortland. Or staying at home, we'll deliver right to your door. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
2020 will be a season like we've never seen before. But 21 Sports and YSN will be there for every key moment. The plays, the players, and the stories that will headline this season. Delivered by 21 Sports and YSN.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plan still meets your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
You may find yourself in some difficulty this winter. Don't get whacked by high heating bills. Call Michael at MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Michael is a trusted friend who will be able to help you with many things, like getting a 95% high-efficiency furnace this winter from Rude. Michael relies on Rude, so should you. Call MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning for a free estimate, 330-259-0486, and take care of your heating and air situation.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because
I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
Armstrong Local Programming has always delivered an exclusive and unique perspective on the very best events your region offers. High school sports, community events, parades, all your favorite shows from Armstrong are now calling the Neighborhood Channel their home.
Watch Out and About, Locally Speaking, and many other great local shows right here on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel.
Find out everything that the Neighborhood Channel has to offer at ArmstrongNeighborhood.com. Spirit, town pride, local communities. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point, courtesy of Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. Joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline from the Vindicator and Tribune Chronicle, the one and only John Vargo. John, how are you today, sir?
Good. How are you guys doing today?
I'm good. All right, so tonight we have an opponent. So although it's not a junior college from Virginia, they bailed, and now we're going to be playing Point Park, an NAIA school out of Pittsburgh, with a possible second game for the YSU men next week against Canisius. That
is way up in the air right now because of travel bans and whatever. So that is a TBA on Canisius. So we'll see if that happens. And I know I've seen rumors floating around, probably mostly from West Virginia fans, thinking that, hey, we got canceled, that their game against Robert Morris was canceled tonight. Hey, maybe, come next week, maybe YSU and West Virginia can get it on. So I would love to see that.
That would be nice. Yeah. Listen, if we can make another trip to Morgantown, West Virginia, that's all right by me.
Yeah, because obviously the local connection of West Virginia with Oscar Shoeboy and Derek Culver, holy cow. I mean, they've been lighting it up, especially Derek Culver has been probably one of the best years of his basketball career this year. It's like leading them over, sparking them, limited minutes because of foul trouble over Georgetown on Sunday or Saturday. I think it was Sunday. So, but yeah, and he's been playing great. Oscar's been playing great. I mean, those two are probably the two best big men combo in the country right now. So it's like, so if YSU does play them, it's going to be a heck of a matchup and a heck of a test for YSU out of the gate, facing probably one of the best teams in the nation in West Virginia.
John, you talked about the West Virginia combination, and that was with the former coach of the Harding Raiders, Andy Velakovich. He's now over at Canton McKinley. He's got one of his kids already going to West Virginia next year. The senior guard who is, and his name escapes me, but
Kobe Johnson.
Oh my God, I saw him on tape. Good God, is he a great guard in northeastern Ohio, and unfortunately Boardman saw too much of him last year in their tournament loss to Canton McKinley in the district semifinals. But that pipeline continues with Coach V in West Virginia.
Well, yeah, and he has a great relationship with Bob Huggins. So, but Kobe reminds me a little bit of a guy, and I know this will date both of us, Ron, but Eric Snow.
Oh yeah.
So, and Eric and I are about the same age. So it's like I remember watching Eric when I was going through Canton South, and yeah, it's the times at the field house going against them. And I remember one of the guys on the team got a piece of the ball when he went up, against Eric Snow. I think that was a highlight of his career, So it's like, but so yeah, but facing Cam McKinley is never an easy task. So it's like, and Andy's got a good team down there, and I think they're heading in the right direction. As we know, Ron, it's like you're not facing an opponent now. You're, whether you're being a basketball, wrestling, or even swimming, you're facing not only an opponent or the water or another, or whatever. You're facing a virus too. So you have a two-pronged front you have to put on, every time you go out on the floor, or, every time you're off the floor as well.
I wanted to bring up, because of the relationship we brought up with Coach Huggins, Coach Velakovich, I wanted to bridge that to local. Anthony and I were talking about this. Okay, it's early on in the high school basketball season, but the talent level that we're seeing and the teams that we're seeing early on, I'm starting to get quite excited about the guys and the gals playing high school hoops this year. And that's just more fuel to the fire for YSU, because Youngstown State is becoming a pretty solid mid-major in boys and men's and women's basketball. I want to say men and women. Men's and women's basketball, they're starting to become a pretty solid mid-major. If we've got some D1 caliber kids in the pipeline in the Mahoning Valley, it just makes perfect sense for those kids to stay home.
True. But you also have to think, and I learned this from John Robick years ago when he and I talked early on when he was here. Every time you have a player, you have a good player, sometimes it's not about, okay, this player needs to be on the program. Is it a need that the program needs at that point? I mean, do they need a small forward? Do they need the 3? Do they need the 4? Are they small? Are they weak on the side of of a shooting guard, point guard, a center? I mean, what does that team need at that time? So it's more of a need, because in football we know that you can get multiple players for multiple positions, and because you have that many scholarships. you only have 13 scholarships to go around. Granted, it will go to, as many as you have seniors plus the 13, for next year or for 1 year only. But as far as football goes, I mean, you can have more scholarships, but it's more of a direct need for basketball. So we can have a great player around here, but, does a YSU need that player at that time, to fit into the program? Because, I mean, you're not going to, stack your team with about 5 or 6 point guards at the time when you still need, maybe a power forward or a center at that time.
Yeah, and when you look at that, and we've talked about, matching what the team needs and timing being so important. And, man, when you look at all the talent spread out in the area, it might be a catch-22 for YSU because there's only so many kids you can get to fit that the need or whatever you have in your program. So the other teams might be able to come into this area and get a lot of talent out of the Northeast Ohio area because there's the fact that the one school that's local only has so many spots that they need to fill.
Right. And the thing of it is, with YSU and what Jared has done, he has probably harkened back to the days of Dan Peters and got, and brought kids from from the Northeast Ohio area, Western PA, Northeast Ohio, that, most times you probably wouldn't see normally, it's like, so you have in the recruiting class this year, you got Josh Irwin, who's from West Geauga. You got Luke Chacon, who is probably one of the candidates for Mr. Basketball this year out of Mentor. He's probably one of the best point guards in the state. So, and then you got the kid from Erie Catholic. I'm sorry, I lost it. I forgot his name real quick, but I can find it out here in a minute here. But yeah, so you have guys within the circle of Youngstown. So I mean, the recruiting circle is starting to come in a little closer. Now, kid, we were talking about locally. I know we had Brian Yager who came back and he covered the Boardman-Poland game last night. He was just saying, how big that Boardman team is this year. And Ethan Anderson's going to be the focal point this year for that Boardman team at 6'6", 6'7". I don't know whichever way you want to go on him. It's like because he's been around the hoop. Now, if he can get outside and be consistent from the three-point arc, I mean, his stock's going to rise. Now, the other thing is, if you're an Ethan Anderson, when you play the teams like Greene, when you play Canton McKinley, you play, let's say, a Worcester, a Louisville, you play a Lake. Those are the games you want to shine. It's like, granted, scouts will see you, when you play AAU ball, but when you play those upper-level teams, and especially the high D1 teams, those are the times you want to show your talents right then and there.
John Vargo from the Tribune Chronicle and the Vindicator rejoins us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. As far as high school basketball in the area, boy, great game last night with Boardman and Poland. We made mention it's interesting how Coach Birch has gone from a guard-oriented offense last year with Anderson. Now the other Anderson, and he's the real Anderson because he spells his last name S-E-N and not the generic S-O-N. And that would be an inside joke because my mother's maiden name is Anderson, S-E-N. Ethan Anderson is the post guy, and all of a sudden Boardman is a post-dominant team. And it doesn't matter because Boardman's just insanely talented anyway. The first game of the year, they draw Poland. They go to Poland High School. They knock off a really good Poland team last night. Coach Birch has some really, really good talent in Spartan country.
Well, I think that goes to Coach Birch and the way he coaches because good coaches find a way to adjust, and that's what Coach Birch has done. It's like when you have the guard-oriented talent, you've had for the last couple of years, and now you're able to transfer that and, go into the post. And plus, your post players come out to the outside and be able to play, play the perimeter as well. That raises their stock, like I said before with Ethan, raises their stock at the collegiate level and it raises the eyebrows of recruiters when they're looking for other talent.
No question. And then we had a very much under the radar basketball team in Cardinal Mooney, who's off to a nice 2-0 start. They beat Steubenville up pretty good at Mooney High School last night, and I love that gym floor at Cardinal Mooney High School. They knock off Steubenville 69-52. They're off to a quick 2-0 start. That was a good win for Cardinal Mooney last night.
Very good win, and they have 2 more games this week. They're hosting Fitch, and big test for them Saturday. They'll be hosting South Range, so it's like that's going to be 2 good games for Mooney to see if they can get off. Kerry Palermo has been trying to work this for the last couple of years, trying to get Mooney back right on track. To be competitive when they get to the district level. So to have this good start here. And Ron, if I can just do a sidebar real quick, but I'm happy to see, out of this COVID thing, out of the craziness schedules, I think people are just putting, differences aside right now and saying, hey, let's just get people locally, to stay close and, schedule people. It's like, who cares if we're playing a parochial? Who cares if it's public versus private? We need to put people on the schedule no matter who it is, and I'm just glad to see that happen right now.
No doubt. And West Branch taking on Ursuline last night.
They finally got their revenge.
Yes, yeah. If they were Anthony, if they had people in the stands, I wonder when the Let's Play Football chant would have came about. So
yeah, about the fourth quarter.
Yeah, probably. So,
and then
probably.
Ursuline might get their, if that were to happen, they might get their just desserts next Friday when their next game is at Lake. So they might get they want to get the opposite end of the spectrum if that were to happen.
Yes. And I just want to break away from basketball a little bit and just say, it's like for us in this area, and I don't have a hand in the all state voting, but for us in this area to get 2 players of the year from Division 6 and Division 7, and I know you guys probably already talked about it already.
Oh, yeah.
But for Cam Hollabaugh and Bo Brungard to get those 2 honors, it's like I was just so excited for both of them because it's just great for this area when you can have that talent recognized, around this area. And I hope, that college coaches are going to see because Cam Hollabaugh does not have an offer at this point, as a senior. So it's like I'm just hoping that somebody's going to see him soon and give him an offer because he looked great in a YSU uniform. He looked great in a MAC uniform. Albeit Kent State, Akron, Bowling Green. God knows Bowling Green needs the help. So it's like
John, I don't understand how this kid is not already signed by someone. How in the world does he not get an offer?
I don't know. I wish I could had an answer for you, but you know what? I'm going to give you the straight answer I give for every question, every questionable decision that's been made in 2020, COVID. So it's like
crazy.
Now, yeah, it is.
Anthony and I talked a little bit about this. Mr. Football will be announced tomorrow when the Division I All-State players are announced. And, of course, we really don't care about the Division I because, frankly, we don't have any Division I schools anymore. So we don't have any skin in the game. But the skin in the game for all of us is going to be Mr. Football. Now, clearly, Bo Brungard and Ryan Hollabaugh are 2 kids that are going to be candidates for Mr. Football, and I told people, look, it doesn't look good because
I can pretty much stop you right there. And if I would have known by now, because I probably would have been contacted by now to probably write a story or somebody write a story, unless somebody's hiding something from me at my paper. But I don't think either one's going to win. I don't know who it would be around the state because I think we've talked about this before that Lynn Bowden should have been back in 2016 and got jobbed by some guy who they gave a lifer, Mr. Football award to a guy from Toledo. It's like, but not that I'm bitter like Elway, Broncos and things like that. But,
yeah.
I should just let those things go.
John Vargo, our guest on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. We have basketball tonight at Beagley. The women are supposed to be starting their season this weekend, so it seems like things are finally starting to come about. Hopefully.
Well, I'm going to knock on some wood, and hopefully you're right on that one. So it's like, and I think with the Point Park, you're going to, obviously you're going to get the bench cleared, get a good look at this team tonight, this YSU team. Do I expect a 50, 60-point blowout? No, I really don't. I just like a win's a win at this point, Ron, because you haven't played since March 5th. You haven't played a game against another team since March 5th. You still have a lot of pieces that are still on this team that still need to get together. And frankly, this is probably the best case scenario for our opponent. Not facing like a Kent State or, OU or somebody like that coming out of the gate. Facing a Point Park's probably the best case scenario for this YSU team, just to get their feet wet before they get into, more play at this juncture.
Another positive is, hey, the SIDs finally have something to do. They've been sitting on their hands since March, too. I mean, not sitting on their hands, but they haven't had games to go cover. So, now starts the brutal stretch of work for Jamie and John down there.
Yeah, true. And that's why I talked to Trevor this morning when I picked up my credentials, and they said, hey, we got a game tonight. So it's like, because I was at YSU's last game, March 5th. I was in Chicago at Loyola's campus. It's like, and that was a very depressing day. It's like on many points. But the good thing is, just for personal reasons, I got to visit Notre Dame's campus again and eat at Culver's. So it's like, I take that a little bit as a win. So,
John, let me just say this right now, and I lived in Springfield, Illinois for a couple of years. Culver's is so underrated. It is insane. I would love to have a Culver's here in northeastern Ohio. Their butter bunned burger is ridiculous. It is that good. It's right up there with In-N-Out Burger, which is another place I'd love to have come to northeastern Ohio.
Yeah, I think we'll probably have more chance of Culver's, but I would love to see Culver's come here. The lady, when we were there, Ron, she, I was there with Chris Sumner and Rob Hayes, and the three of us made the trip out there, and they made the ice cream fresh out there.
Nice.
It wasn't coming right out of the machine. I mean, it was poured into the machine and made, and it's like we had, good ice cream. Like you would get it, not as good as you get Handles, but damn close.
Yeah, it's close. It's close. I mean, the Handle still gets the Duke, but it's close. But their burgers, holy crap, are they good?
Oh.
Wow.
Yes, they are.
Gets the Duke? Can we stop there for a minute?
Yeah.
Gets the Duke?
Gets the Duke. You never heard of that?
Never heard that one before.
Oh yeah, that's an old way back in the day. An old thing. They get the victory. They get the Duke.
All right.
Yeah. John, you've heard of that, haven't you?
You know what? I might have, but it's been a while.
Way to throw me under the bus, John. Appreciate that.
Sorry, it's like
so now from here on out, I'm going to be going. Back in my day, we had the Duke. And we're talking John Wayne here.
You do that anyway when we talk 1970s baseball. So.
Wow. Damn, I'm getting run all over the place. There you go. Okay. Anthony's showing her his young buck. Just because you stole our first baseman, Santana, doesn't mean you can rain insults on me.
Feeling good today, Ron.
Well, you should be feeling good. All right, John, always a pleasure, sir. Look forward to seeing you tonight, brother.
No problem. Take care, guys.
All right, see you. John Vargo from the Vindicator and the Tribune and Chronicle. You're full of piss and vinegar today, young man. Man, I can't. Maybe I just did age myself with the Duke comment.
Yeah, that one got me. I had to stop you there.
I'm just saying, back in the day, they used to say that.
I thought like a Duke was like you go take a Duke in the room next to it.
No, that's a deuce.
It's a deuce, right?
Yeah,
so I was thinking, that's what I was saying. I was like, no, that's a deuce. And then I was like, I couldn't. I had to stop. I was like, no.
I had to clarify.
Right.
All right. Old man versus the new school. So old man talk is they got the Duke.
What's the Duke then? Why does that equal a win? I mean,
I have no idea the origin of it. I have no idea the origin of the Duke being AKA a win, but that's how they used to way back in the day. So I think it went 1930s on everyone, but it is what it is. All right, 330-886.
Next, we'll talk boxing and
0813.
horse racing.
Hey,
1930s.
They're still relevant, albeit boxing is a little more crooked than it was, and horse racing is
a little
not
less
as
crooked.
not as popular as it once was, mainly because PETA doesn't like jockeys on top of horses. So it is what it is. At least they're still running at Mahoning at Hollywood. They still have the races, which fall and winter and early spring they're there 4 or 5 times a week.
I think Pete is more mad about the whips than the jockeys.
I think you're probably right on that. Yeah. So, all right, we'll take a time. I'll be back with more. It is a Wednesday edition of Running Point, courtesy of Greenwood Chevrolet, Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. It's open for business. 330-886-0813. Back in a bit.
Right now is a great time to get more for your trade-in at Tri-State Ford and drive home in a new or pre-owned vehicle. Choose from our great selection of new Ford models or pre-owned vehicles. Plus, get the Tri-State Ford Advantage, including a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty and more. At Tri-State Ford, we'll pay you top dollar for your trade, but you don't have to purchase one of ours to sell us yours.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
21 News.
Let's get right to our top story tonight.
More experienced reporters.
A new Wilmington
GM Lordstown.
Telling more local stories.
We'll look at efforts. Boy is recovering from a broken.
Around our valley.
Community in Niles. We are here in Youngstown, right up.
Because you expect.
Important for everyone. No place like home.
More local news.
In Mercer County Court.
Become life-threatening.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Attention football fans, order Coca's Pizza tailgate package for only $54.99. You'll receive 24 slices of our delicious cheese pizza, 20 jumbo wings, and 2 of our famous foot-long pepperoni rolls. Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Your Armstrong services are more important than ever. There are more and more connected devices in the home these days. To get the most out of your experience, you need a network that is always getting better. You deserve superior performance, and that's what Armstrong offers every day. Whether you're working from home, enjoying your favorite content together, or simply catching up while apart, count on Armstrong to keep you connected to what matters most.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because
I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years. I think whenever we go there, whatever car we're looking for, they have tremendous inventory.
If you're looking for people who care about you, Greenwood is the place to go.
You know, it's like family there. The girls know me in service. It's Miss Kim in the Tahoe.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet. For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. The slang that I used is currently 19th century slang, apparently, because you've outkicked your slang coverage, because nowadays a duke is known as, or it often replaces him or dude. If you would say, "What up, Duke?" "What up, dude?" or whatever. If someone were to say, "What do you think about John?" or
"What do you think about that Duke?"
"Oh, that Duke is cool." Okay, so
I've never heard that either, though. So.
Apparently, there is no reference to the old school of, "Oh, this such and such got the Duke," which was the win. So apparently that is so outdated.
There's no historical record.
There's no historical record of that. So, yeah. Woof. That's interesting. All right, 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline, open for business. We got girls action on the network tonight. Austintown Fitch, their first game of the season. They're going to be taking on a rather seasoned team in terms of how many games they've played.
Yeah, starting to get seasoned because they're still, like I said, they're missing all but one starter from last year's state semifinal. So they're starting to gel. They're starting to get in sync, especially on offense. But, yeah, you don't want them to start to figure out,
Well, them is West Branch, and they've already played, 3 or 4 games now. So it's... Yeah, so you're going to be going up against a team that's already played 4 games on the campaign. It's kind of tough to beat a team when you're playing your first game of the year and they're playing their 4th or 5th game of the year. Saw that in Leetonia last night. I think United was in their game number 3.
I think 3.
And they you could tell that one team had already played some games and the other team hadn't played some games. So it was tough to see. Now, hopefully for Austintown Fitch, hopefully the Fitch girls come out and have a really good game against West Branch. Should be a good game.
Well, they're senior led, and they have a handful of seniors that have been there, done that. Emma Bartlett, Chelsea Wheeler. So they're gonna have more of a on-court experience than a lot of the West Branch girls, because a lot of the Warriors right now are just coming off of a season where they were pretty much role players off the bench, and now all of a sudden they're starters. So at that aspect, I think Fitch might have a little bit more experience. Now on the, on the basketball side of things, I think West Branch might have a little bit of an advantage. But we'll see. They're still trying to figure each other out. And West Branch let Chippewa get back in the game. It was should have been a runaway. It wasn't. So they still got a lot of work to do to get to the Shield's standards. So if you're going to get them, you might as well get them early.
This is true. Fitch taking on West Branch in Austintown tonight. It'll be on the network.
Ty Bartel will have you covered there.
Indeed.
DJ will have the Salem versus Minerva game.
That should be a fun game as well. There are a couple of games that we did not talk about from last night. We've talked about the potential, and it's early in the season. I get it. The potential of a D3 tournament is a loaded D3 tournament with South Range, Cardinal Mooney, Springfield is another team. Springfield knocked off Jackson Milton last night in New Middletown, 76-58, 12 3-pointers in the victory for the Tigers. That's a good basketball team. And I think that the challenge of them getting into the state championship game in football, on the short end, okay, it kind of cuts into your basketball season, but the good news with all of that is once these kids are basketball ready to go, that winning is going to, from the football season, is going to carry on to the basketball season. And Springfield is already starting to look like a team that's going to be a player in the D3 tournaments. This will be a lot of fun.
And Heartland Christian also got a big win over Grand Valley.
Yes.
And John Berdovich, He went off 27 points. That's what we kind of expect from him.
Yeah, and they're 2-1 on the campaign. Props to Beaver Local getting a victory down in Calcutta last night as they knocked off Crestview 48-33. Crestview's off to a slow start. They're not exactly healthy. We'll see what happens. I was told they're playing a game Friday night against United. I want some confirmation on that because that game is in Crestview, and if that's the case, that could be on the network as well. And then Saturday, Crestview's playing Springfield, which should be a pretty entertaining game as well. But Beaver Local getting a victory. First game of the year. Ryan Cunningham had 12 points for the win as Beaver Local knocked off Crestview last night, 48-33. And, well, we probably need to now that we have Lisbon royalty in the house. Lisbon losing to Malvern last night. That was a tough game, but Malvern's a good team. They're going to be a lot of fun to deal with those clubs.
Did your JVs win though? Oh.
No.
Thought there might be a bright spot.
I didn't bring that up, by the way. I knew that.
I wanted to see if there'd be a bright spot. I didn't know.
No, he has had a really bad habit of running people over today, and I'm just letting you know that
I already hit Quinn because I already got my shots in at Quinn over the weekend.
Yeah, he's running me over with all kinds of different stuff. So I'm
you
just
brought
saying,
out a saying that the internet couldn't even find. It's so old.
Well, the internet's not exactly young.
Historical record.
But the internet's not exactly young. It's only been in existence for what, 20 years, 25 years.
The database is old, and
well, it's only as old as the people that fill it.
There's no historical record of Got the Duke.
Okay, well, I'm just saying. You call Jim Ross. He said it all the time.
Who's Jim Ross?
Jim Ross. Good old Jim Ross from WWE. He always used to say that.
That's
some wrestling. I got the Duke. Yeah, so there you go.
Maybe he just made it up.
Damn you, Jim Ross. Oh, well. 330-886-0813. Maybe he did make it up. I don't know. We'll be back to close up shop. It is a Wednesday edition of Running Point. Tire marks are on my back, courtesy of Anthony. We'll be back in a bit. Stick around. More to come.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Rain will come and go tomorrow. There'll be some dry intervals.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Rude gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy efficient expert MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Rude, and so should you.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions, reminding you that it is open enrollment for Medicare.
Now through December 7th, those who qualify can visit our local independent agency by calling us at 330-953-3722 or visiting us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Attention all football fans. If you can't see your team play, come and dine with us and watch it live at Boardman, Canfield, or Cortland. Or staying at home, we'll deliver right to your door. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
2020 will be a season like we've never seen before, but 21 Sports and YSN will be there for every key moment. The plays, the players, and the stories that will headline this season. Delivered by 21 Sports and YSN.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plans still meet your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
You may find yourself in some difficulty this winter. Don't get whacked by high heating bills. Call Michael at MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Michael is a trusted friend who will be able to help you with many things, like getting a 95% high-efficiency furnace this winter from Rude. Michael relies on Rude, so should you. Call MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning for a free estimate, 330-259-0486, and take care of your heating and air situation.
Welcome back to the final edition, or the final segment, I should say. Not final edition. God, that's breaking news. There's a breaking news story. Now, final edition for today of Running Points. Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Minor League Baseball officially purged in terms of the 120 teams have been announced. Plenty of teams have been kicked out of minor league baseball. It hits home for me. The team that I spent 6 years with in Jackson, Tennessee, they're done with minor league baseball. They will get an independent team, but they are done. The answer to the question of which of the sixth team that was going to take part in the minor league draft league, in which the Mahoning Valley Scrappers are a part of, the sixth team has been announced. The former Baltimore Orioles High A affiliate, the Frederick Keys out of Frederick, Maryland, they will be the sixth team in the minor league baseball draft league, the Frederick Keys. So there you go. They are going to be the sixth team, joining Mahoning Valley State College, West Virginia, Frederick, Trenton, and who the hell was the other team? It doesn't matter. It's a 6-team league, and Mahoning Valley is in it. Frederick is the sixth team. So there you go. Frederick. Yeah, Freddie.
Settle down, Frederick.
Yeah, Freddie. Fredo. Yeah, so Frederick will be the sixth team, and that will be the 6-team league for the draft league in which the Scrappers are in. So everyone has now been present and accounted for. The city of Erie continues to have minor league baseball. They will have the AA affiliate of the Tigers, and Chattanooga, Tennessee, has been spared of minor league baseball as well. The Lookouts will remain in Chattanooga. So there you go. All right, that'll do it for the show. We will talk tomorrow, noon to 3. Power Hour is coming up next. Have a great rest